Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of KeMedicine. This time I am joined by the pimps of polarity, the duo of dynamism, the killers of keto, the soldiers of science, Dr. Tanei Ricks and Dr. EnQi.
The killers of keto. That was crazy. The killers of keto. But no, on the spaces earlier, I just wanted to know, like, and this is a random, like, totally random, crazy thing, but I recognize patterns everywhere. So sometimes I just be wanting to know if it's my mind going too far. And so in the spaces earlier, the conversation is about government and, economics is in there and politics. And you get the guy that comes on to the show, he comes on the stage and he plays a song about a guy who got exposed on Twitter with a tranny.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But then, wait a minute. But then right after, you get another guy that comes onto the stage and he says, and I quote, "I didn't really have anything to say, but there was a guy trying to hit me from the back." So I'm cracking up. And I'm saying to myself, I wonder if anybody else is thinking that there's a like, did the freestyle song about the tranny, like, did that give the other guy the green light to come on the platform and say somebody was trying to hit him from the back? Like, I just thought that was like totally random, but not random events that happen consecutively. Like, how does, you know what I'm saying? Like, that, it could have just been me though.
That was that brown chakra awakening.
That was definitely a lot of nature boy, young pharaoh energy right there. It was crazy. Yeah, that was definitely crazy.
The internet is random. It is the most shout out Markel, thank you for the 5. The internet is random, bro. The craziest shit happens on the internet, so you gotta just be ready for anything. You never know what'll happen. Tanei, welcome to the channel. Chat, W's in the chat. We finally got Tanei up here. W's in the chat.
Man, it's been a long time, bro. It's been a long time. I'm glad to be back. Got some fans, okay.
Yeah.
No, so like it's crazy, because I've said in the chat several times that like EnQi was that dude that really, I gotta give my dude his flowers, man. Like, I remember when this was probably back in like maybe like 2010 when I was really starting to get like real serious about my degree and like what I wanted to do, and I started coming across like the Black and Nobel videos, and this is like around the time that like Zeitgeist and all this other shit came out. Professor Griff was like super heavy in the streets, promoting all like the psychological war on hip hop stuff, and that always leads down into the rabbit hole, and Phil Valentine, Bobby Hemming, and all that stuff. And I came across EnQi, and I was just like, okay, this is cool. And I was like, wait a minute, this is like a black dude doing like biochemistry. I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on here. And again, like I said before, there was this one lecture about glycoprotein 120 and the connection to HIV and AIDS, and he was just like spitting facts on top of facts on top of facts, and I'm just like, yo, like, who is this dude? So I start like checking out all the EnQi shit, like all the way back to like Amber Institute, Mama Atomics, like all of that shit. See, you see EnQi's like, wow. It's like that's my old shit. And that was really how I first got acquainted with him. So like it's
That is the
very,
beginning. That is the beginning. That's not all. That's the beginning. That's like Genesis. In the beginning was the word. And the word was Mama Atomics.
Man, I told you I've been a fan from the beginning, man. Like I said, I'm appreciative to be, on the platform with you, and you've been dropping hella gems. So, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, man. These old niggas help raise us. They help raise us. So we just here to make sure.
Unnecessary roughness on the defense.
You see, he's starting off.
Yo, he could not let that opportunity go. He just, right under the belt.
We just here to make sure the nursery home takes good care of them. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen, but what's funny is I definitely felt a little aged. You know what I'm saying? Now aged in a good way, like wine, because as Tanei is saying that I inspired him, and mind you, he threw the 15 years on it. I think it's a little bit earlier than that. I think it's a little 2007, 2008. I think it's a little more, but he got gray in his beard, right? So as a person with gray in their beard, it's like, yeah, so you inspired me to do my thing. You got to say to yourself, like, So us youngins, out here in these streets, you know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely appreciate that, man. That's amazing, because I'm still working on trying to neutralize, I would really like to see the lecture circuit get resurrected. I would really like to see the lecture circuit get resurrected. YouTube killed the lecture circuit. I would really love to see the lecture circuit get resurrected, where guys are, teaching in different cities, and the lecture circuit gets popping again. And because it wasn't just about the teaching and the information, it was about the representation of how we look. You know what I'm saying? Like now we just got rappers going city to city. So we got to work quadruple time. Then it was the economics that was generated in the cities with the knowledge, you know what I'm saying? So I would love to see that come back again. That was a big part of those days. And I guess what's bringing that to the forefront of my mind is it's not every day that we have somebody go, yo, I was checking out those lectures and then I went through college and woo, 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 woo. Now I'm it's not every day that we get to have that, because that in and of itself is, I guess the equivalent of what maybe somebody would feel like receiving a Grammy or receiving an Oscar for their acting, you know what I'm saying? Just to be like, somebody to say like, yeah, you was influential in me not only going to school, because most people that go to school, respectfully, they go to school just to waste time. Like they just in school. Like you ask them what they did. Oh, I got a general degree. But going to school and then getting a degree in the subject of influence, like that's tough right there. That's really powerful. I definitely appreciate that.
Nah, it feels good to be here, Like I said, you helped raise us. You and the rest of the House of Consciousness community, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. All you netchers, you all really helped.
I like that. I like that. Hey. We're not going to let that just fly by right there. We had a little spat about that, and now you see when Tanei get on the platform, you behaving yourself. I'm not the only one showing out tonight, okay? Because you trying to say, I got a little blazer, you know what I'm saying? I'm not the only one that's showing out for the night. Okay, all right now.
I wouldn't get too happy too early.
I'll take what I can get. No. I will take what I can get.
I'm just getting warmed up.
Yo, you know what was like real crazy about the GP 120 lecture, right? Like, so I actually came back to that lecture maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, when like COVID was real big, and like literally there's a couple things that you said in that lecture that popped up like word for word verbatim during COVID. And I was like, yep, there it is. Like, I mean, it's just these masters of tricknology, man. They play the same tricks over and over again and hope people don't catch on to it. And
What he say?
you would have to pull a video up, but it was basically like how the virus enters your cells, replicates, all this other stuff, and like the mode of action was like basically the same, but then talking about like symptoms, and it's just like these symptoms sound the same. And then like the recognition of, you know, cell surface glycans and things like that, like this is all the same. Like, so how are you getting two different viruses that y'all say are different? They have the same mechanism of entering cells, basically go through the same replication cycle, and they're different. Like how does that work? Like there's something about this that like just doesn't make sense. And even when we talk about like Kary Mullis, right? Kary Mullis was the guy that invented PCR. A lot of people don't know that Kary Mullis actually got the download. I'm gonna call it the download. He got the download for making the PCR cycles one day when I think he was like high on LSD. Matter of fact, the story was like, as I remember it, he was like driving down the side of a mountain or something, and he said it was either a green bear or a green raccoon came out the woods like as he was tripping and like told him how to make, you know, the cycles for the PCR machine, and then he went back in the lab and did it, and it worked. So and then Kary Mullis died, I want to say, pandemic started, like 2020. So Kary Mullis, I think, died in either August of 2019 or September of 2019.
I was about to
So
say
he died.
Yeah, right there, right at the cusp.
Yeah. And so then like when everything started popping off, then like a lot of his videos started disappearing from the internet. So I got a couple of them saved on like my other laptop. But he went like real deep into it, talking about like all the symptoms of HIV and AIDS, and talking about how like HIV doesn't kill anybody, AIDS doesn't kill anybody, like is a collection of things that are weakening your immune system over time. It's not one specific thing that's doing it, but even then you can't isolate everything that's doing it. Like, and he's even said out his own mouth that in some ways PCR is like magic. Because you can't really, you're taking these microscopic pieces of nucleic acid and essentially just cloning them over and over and over again to create a full piece of something that you want to look at. And it's just, I mean, he's even said that, you know, it's very hard to justify a lot of the stuff that comes out of PCR, which is why we talked about when well, y'all remember when I told you, I think it was a HBTY show where I said that the PCR cycle counts were too high and they were creating false positives. That's one of the downsides of using PCRs. Like if you over amplify this, then you start to get stuff that's not actually there. And so like while PCR is a really good technique, like you just have to be careful in how you use it. I mean, anything can be used in such a way to manipulate and, you know, put out a narrative that you want to be out there. So like you just got to be really careful about that. But like the average person's not going to know that because, you know, we not really scientifically literate like we need to be. I mean, hell, most of us ain't literate like we need to be. So
come on now,
it's kind of hard to like get that information across to people. So
that is a whole nother level. That's one of my missions in life, to increase scientific literacy. But I realized a major roadblock, obstacle, was that people are operating on a 3rd to 5th grade reading level, which is crazy because none of the scientific journal articles are written in the 3rd to 5th grade reading level. All of the scientific material, even the most basic, is written at best
bachelor's degree in college.
At the bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
You need to be.
I feel like I need a PhD to read these damn articles you done put in the damn book. take me 3 months to read a book.
But see, now you got AI, and as long as you can ask the right questions, you can get AI to give it back to you in a form that's actually able to that you can digest and you can read. Hell, I was doing that today. I'm trying to look for like new stuff to get funded for in carbohydrate chemistry, and I was just sitting on. I was on Perplexity earlier for like an hour and a half, just asking different questions, like, "Hey, so what's been done in this field? Okay, does it matter with this? Like, is there still innovation that can be done here? Well, what if I did this? And what if I did this?" And it started just giving me answers and answers. But again, the AI is only as good as your questions are. If your questions are really good, then you're gonna get really good information back. But I mean, if you're just asking for, like parlays and shit, then like, yeah, you're not gonna get anything out of AI.
Fact. AI is a trick. AI is a mirror. That's what AI is. It is a mirror. If you know something, you can get AI to elaborate on the things that you already know, but it will not shed any light on anything you don't know because you won't know to ask the question. You got to rub the genie. You got to rub the lamp the right way for the genie to pop out.
Yeah. Just be careful where you rub the genie. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an amazing broadcast lined up for y'all tonight. We are talking about your air conditioner versus melanogenesis. Shout out to the chat. We got the best chat in the room. We got the best chat on the internet. Best chat on Kick. Nerd Nash just pulled up. He said, "Let's go triangle offense." I'll be running my air conditioner all day long. So no matter what you niggas say, I'm not turning that bitch off. I just want to give you fair warning right now.
We already sent the Melanin authorities to your address on multiple occasions. So watch your step early. You got that. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and contact them people right now to have them on high alert because I can already feel like the Melanin Bureau will be knocking on your door, headsets active and all that this evening. I can already see you gonna go totally out of bounds.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bring the little MIB flashy thing out because HJ
Fact.
wild shit. Like I can already see it.
Fact. Talking about black folks ain't supposed to be working out there in the heat and the sun and all kind of crazy one-liners. So yeah. But
Y'all made me put my glasses back on.
Here's oh yeah, okay. I'll leave you alone. But here's the thing. We have to realize that some things that may sound conspiratorial, if you will, are not necessarily conspiratorial. They just, they just a part of the fact that we haven't built the society we live in. You know what I'm saying? We haven't built the society we live in. Most of the things that are in the society we live in are built by or paid for by folks that have a slightly different, chemistry than ours. So it's going to be geared to suiting that chemistry. Like even people that have their in-house thermostat. I noticed that when I go to white folks' houses, it's set between 60, 66, 68, something like that. Black folks usually 70, 72, so there's little subtle differences in what we consider to be our comfort zones.
I got mine on 72, 68 when I go to sleep.
Okay, that's two different temperatures. You got yours on 72 or 68?
Depends on time of day. Runs on the schedule.
Okay, so in the daytime it's set to
76. I let it run a little bit hotter in the house. Save some energy, save some money. And as it gets cooler, it turns to 72. And then by 10 p.m., it's set to 68.
Interesting.
I like it. It got to be cool. It's got to be cold when I go to sleep at night.
Yeah, I actually run mine. If I'm in the house, I run it at 74, but like probably like an hour before I get ready to go to bed, I'll run it down to 66. Like I have found that doing that, like I go to sleep a lot. Well, it's already not difficult for me to go to sleep, but I go to sleep a lot faster. And when I wake up, I feel more energized when I wake up too. So I mean,
Yeah,
I think there's some research out there that
it
says
is.
that,
No, 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 no. It's science to it.
like,
So yeah, yeah. What happens is the hotter temperature is more centered towards pro-opiomelanocortin or POMC, which releases melanin stimulating hormone, amongst other things. And that is more energy consumption. That's breaking down fats, loosening sugars.
Why do you always come back to melanin so much? How is that melanin pertinent again now?
Because, okay, so, well, the reason is, A, we're dealing with a massive epidemic of premature death because there's a blind spot in all of science surrounding melanin science. That's number one. But number two, the blind spot is completely blinding because the melanin system runs all of your body, every part of it.
The melanin system runs every part of your body.
Every single part of your body. So there's no conversation that you could have about the human body where the topic of melanin is not not only not relevant, but probably like front and center in that conversation.
Man, 12 white people just
that's the
logged off.
frustrating part about academics, right? Is that even when you look at like research papers and you look at like an anatomy and physiology, again, as EnQi said, we don't live in a society that is melanin dominant in that way, and so it's a footnote for them. It's not, I mean, that's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just is like, it's just like, this is just the way that this society is set up. So when if something is de-emphasized because it's not seen by the people whose interests, that they're looking after, then there's going to be a lot of stuff that gets missed. I mean, and I remember that being something that was like really frustrating, especially when you look at like, a lot of the science classes I took, especially like microbio and genetics and things like that. And even, like I teach a class in carbohydrates and nucleic acids now. And, even looking at some of that stuff, it's just like, wow, there's so much stuff that's like missing because it's taught from this point of view in this context. But what would it be like if it was taught in a different context? It's like looking at something that's 2D versus 3D, right?
Woo!
If we look at, like Mario for the longest time was like 2D, right? But then like Super Mario 64 came out and it was 3D. Like Mario, he comes to life. Like there's so much depth that's missing that you see now. And that's, when you add that extra dimension that's missing, it gives you a lot more context for what is actually happening. And a lot of the stuff that people say is, we don't know, or this is junk, or this is a vestigial thing. It's like, okay, just because you're looking at it from this context, what if you put on a different set of lenses and you started to look at it from that context because you then find a purpose for it?
Listen, I literally just said, you know what? I'm going to launch my own college. Like I'm going to launch my own college right here in plain view of everybody. Like I'm not even we're just gonna go boom. And the beauty of it is I got an intro, I got a forward from tonight, from my first textbook, from my college, right? And a part of the name of the book is Melanin is Anabolic. Melanin is anabolic. And that plays a role back into what I was saying before HJ jumped in. The reason why people have, and not just Black folks, everybody feels better with a cooler temperature going to sleep because you switch from melanin stimulating hormone to melanin concentrating hormone. And melanin concentrating hormone is more of the autophagy, REM sleep, sirtuin activity, all of those things that, you know, you hear a lot of people talking about on the big health platforms. They just leave out the fact that when they're talking about ketosis or autophagy or things like that, those things start from signals from the melanin system. Like all of those things are initiated by signals from within the melanin system.
So you were talking about H-1B visas in the melanogenesis, air conditioning, and then you
That's
jump
right.
straight to. So wait, so say it again. What you said?
Okay, so throughout the daytime, right? Now, mind you, throughout the whole 24-hour cycle, you have melanin stimulating hormone moving around through your body. You also have melanin concentrating hormone moving throughout your body. But typically, throughout the day, melanin stimulating hormone is more dominant. Melanin stimulating hormone is going to free up energy for your body to burn energy, for you to exercise, things like that. Melanin concentrating hormone is more about taking inventory for missing nutrients, stimulating you to go eat, stimulating you to sleep so you can get to the autophagy or the building and regenerating process and things like that. But yeah, your entire sleep, wake, hunger, sex, addiction, reward, like all of those things are driven by the melanin system in your body.
But you said something about H1N1 or something like that. What did you say? The H?
No. H1N1. That's you in the swine flu conversation. You just went to swine flu on us. Like that's not no. I was saying MCH and I said POMC. That might but no, not H1N1. I think you might have been over there silently trying to talk to the Google demons when Tanei was mentioning glycoprotein 120, and you might have went down you might have went to a fork in the road and went left, and then it might have somehow took you to swine flu real quick by mistake, and then
Spell POMC.
POMC. Yeah, POMC. That is a large
polyoxymethylene copolymer.
No, sir. That is not it. That is definitely not it right there. No, sir. POMC has three major segments to it: melanin stimulating hormone, your heroin, and your fat burner. Yeah, so POMC breaks down into melanin stimulating hormone, your opioids, and your fat burners. Your body naturally produces them at the same time. So that's another way that you could stop. Like, it's a very simple way for you to understand that melanin is an anabolic, because melanin stimulating hormone is produced with a fat burner.
Pro-opiomelanocortin.
There you go.
Polypeptide hormone precursor. Wait,
correct.
what?
You'll see that. Yep. And you'll see that it breaks down to melanin stimulating hormone, your endorphins, and then your lipotropins. Not to mention you got your catecholamines, your catecholamines snuggled in the mix as well.
Trying to get this up on the screen now so everybody can see what it is that we talking about. This is interesting. Hold on, we about to get the Google demons up on the screen so everybody can see the Google demons.
Listen, right now I got the listen. It's a whole like 15-week professional, like we doing a whole 15-week course on melanin not only being anabolic, but the entire fat burning, get yourself in shape, like that whole thing, that whole science has to be rewritten, because like everything else, melanin is not, involved. And I guess we kind of get,
So let's go back to My air conditioning unit.
Yes, sir.
Let's finish that. So what were you saying is wrong with my air conditioner now?
Nothing at all.
But you said something about heat. Heat is going to do something during the day or something, I think.
So heat is going to stimulate your body to release POMC, which is going to stimulate your body to produce more melanin. That's pro-melanogenic.
Wait,
right?
so it is, we don't need technically the sunlight to create melanin. Just heat alone will actually produce melanin, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Wow.
Because the thing is, light stimulates melanin production.
Right.
And so what happens is we get into conversation and we'll get lost in the euphemistic definition of the term light instead of the scientific definition of the word light.
Which is?
Well, the euphemistic definition of light is visible light.
Right.
But there's never a time when there's no light. We don't even know as humans what that is to not be submerged in a sea of light. We're always in light. Heat is light. Heat is light. So when we're getting heat, we're getting light. So heat in and of itself stimulates melanin because heat is a form of light. I know you over there going crazy with the Google demon. It's gonna be a Google demon-orific show. I just made that up. Google demon-orific.
So I was in the sauna this weekend. 150 degrees. In there sweating and meditating and stretching and doing all sorts of yoga. Was I producing melanin?
Absolutely. Not only was you producing melanin, I'm assuming this is an infrared sauna.
I think this was no, it was hot coals or something like that. They.
Oh, it was a steam sauna.
Yeah.
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 Oh, or what do you call it? Swedish sauna?
Yeah.
I was at the Korean spa, so yeah.
There you go. Yeah. It still has an impact. It still has an impact. And not only are you going to produce, you're going to ramp up the MSH, but you're also going to start producing melatonin as well.
You also open up a lot of detox pathways too, especially if you're getting rid of like heavy metals, microplastics.
That's a big fact.
That's really hard for your internal organs to deal with, especially like your liver and kidneys to filter all that stuff out. So skin is also a filtering organ. So when you do go into the sauna, you start to sweat, those heavy metal ions will also come out in your sweat, and it'll also help get some of the microplastic out too.
That's a big fact.
Google demons want to argue with you, EnQi.
They always do.
They said heat is the internal energy of matter, while light is a form of electromagnetic energy. They are distinct but related, as one can be converted into the other. For example, light hitting a surface can be absorbed and increase the internal energy heat of that surface, and a hot object can emit light as it cools. According to Khan Academy, temperature measures the average kinetic energy of the particles in a substance. Heat is the thermal energy transferred into or out of a system.
I'll take that.
Okay. All right. Because you say heat is light.
Just ask the Google demons one more time.
Ask them what?
Ask them, is infrared light heat?
Is infrared light heat? Let's see.
Or maybe I should have reversed that question.
You want to ask, is light infrared?
No. What did the Google demon say?
It said, no, IR light is not exactly heat, but it is a type of electromagnetic radiation that carries thermal energy. It is strongly associated with heat
Stop
transfer.
right there. So the first time it said that heat is not light because light is electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah.
Now when you ask this question, it says that infrared light is not Infrared is not light, but it is electromagnetic radiation. Right? And so yeah, so that's why, AI is still, AI is a beautiful tool. I love AI, but
You gotta ask the right questions, and you gotta know how like the words are being used. Like, is
Yeah.
the words are tools. The words are not definitive for like what you're trying to explain. They're just tools to get your point across. So sometimes you gotta massage the tools a little bit, understand when
yeah,
words are
yeah.
going back and forth on each other.
Yeah.
Because all of those things, from infrared light to radio waves, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all of those things are light. All of that is light.
Bluetooth?
Bluetooth, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So the heat, we may be pampering ourselves a little bit, or maybe hampering our ability to create melanocytes, which are important for anabolic and metabolic functions in the body.
Well, we don't need to be creating melanocytes or melanin per se, because there's a difference between melanin and melanocytes.
But you said melanogenesis.
Right. So that's where your body's producing melanin. That's not necessarily the same as your body replicating melanocytes, the cells. So you have melanocytes, which are cells. Inside those cells, you have melanosomes, which are enzymes. And those enzymes are what actually produce the melanin particles, which we know of as pigment. Sometimes in conversation, again, euphemistically, melanin is sometimes used where melanocytes should be used. And so that's why I make the distinction to say melanin system, because within the melanin system, it not only includes melanin, both forms or all four types anyway, both types of eumelanin, both types of pheomelanin, but it also includes melanocytes. Then it includes specialized types of melanocytes like cardiac melanocytes. Then it includes melanin that's not made by melanocytes at all, like neuromelanin. And then it also includes the hormones and pre-hormones and neurotransmitters that are a part of the melanin system as well. So melanin plays a lot bigger role in our bodies than just like pigment. There's a lot more. Like when we talk about melanin stimulating hormone or pro-opiomelanocortin, the melanocortin system is a huge system in the body. That is a part of the melanin system. Catecholamines is a huge system in the body. Catecholamines are a part of the melanin system. So anytime you hear somebody talking about dopamine, dopamine is a part of the melanin system. Norepinephrine is a part of the melanin system. These are melanin conversations, even if like early on, that was a pet peeve of mine to like, and it still is, and I just got that from the Bronx. Spanish people, they would, just back in the days, but they would talk about you in Spanish and you wouldn't know what they were saying. You know what I'm saying? Unless you was one of the people that just, you learned some surface level Spanish just so you would know if they was, violating you. I realized that people in the scientific community did that, all the time. They could be having a conversation about you or about subjects very relevant to you. And if you're not literate, you won't know. So when you hear people talking about dopamine, dopamine is neuromelanin conversation because neuromelanin is formed from dopamine. Norepinephrine is a neuromelanin conversation because neuromelanin is also formed from neuromelanin is also formed from norepinephrine. So, you know, All of this is a part of the melanin system in the body. And ignorance of the system is ignorance of how our body works. And there can be no health or no optimal living if you don't know how your body works.
Jack Schroeder says, this is another reason why using your air conditioners and avoiding heat can be problematic for your health. Heat exposure, independent of sunlight exposure, has the potential to induce melanogenesis. Melanogenesis leads to higher melanosome and melanin production. Charge capacitor, semiconductor, redox modulator, heavy metal.
Talk that talk.
Chelator and melanocyte chelator.
That chelator is what Tanei was talking about early by getting rid of heavy metals and things like that from the body. But go ahead.
Okay. And melanocyte proliferation, which migrates throughout the whole neuroectoderm to do work. Avoiding the heat leads to reduction in one of the most important molecules found throughout your body. Sunlight and heat exposure is your best endogenesis tool to activate melanogenesis, build your internal light handling system.
Talk that talk.
Scientists,
I love everything he said, except for the fact that it sounded like he got he might have got a little heavy with the Google demons. And if not, I know he was speaking over 99% of the general populations. so people might like, they like the poetic, like that sounds great, but they may not really know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I was talking about opsins earlier and how opsins are responsible for, well, not responsible, but partially responsible for building muscle and breaking down fat. And opsins are a part of, that melanin system universe. Opsins are a type of pigments that are in the body. And so even light is responsible for, we metabolize light in a wide variety of ways.
I saw an interesting comment that was just here, and now I just lost track of it. Anyway, I just went back and found it. So somebody responds, check this out. Unless you're blonde with little melanin or ginger, you'll get cancer. Grok, explain please. Pheomelanin oxidizes without UV at all. So Grok says fair-skinned blondes and redheads high in pheomelanin indeed have elevated melanoma risk. Pheomelanin generates reactive oxygen species, ROS, even without UV, causing oxidative DNA damage and carcinogenesis, as shown in MC1R mutation studies and mouse models.
Okay, let's stop right there. Hold on. Let's do that in smaller bites so I could translate, because I don't want to lose. Okay. I don't want to lose folks. So MC1R is a melanocortin receptor. So when we talk about the melanocortin system, you got melanocortin receptors all throughout the body. It stimulates a part of the process of melanogenesis. Now, here's where I got banned. Well, I had some trouble on in the social media universe, because I may have alluded to the fact that something in the shot affected, the melanocortin system, because angiogenesis, well, not angiogenesis, angiotensin. Angiotensin is it plays a role in the melanin, the melanocortin system. But anyway, what he's saying is accurate to an extent, right? Pheomelanin and eumelanin, the difference between pheomelanin and eumelanin is that pheomelanin is not as good as eumelanin with processing light. It doesn't have, it doesn't process as much light. It doesn't process the smaller, faster bands. But there's two different types of pheomelanin, just like there's two different types of eumelanin. So
isn't one of them sulfur dominant and one of them is selenium dominant, right?
Well, you got two types of pheomelanin. One of them is pure cysteine, and one of them is made out of glutathione. So the one with the glutathione has a little bit more ability to handle light than the one made purely from mostly cysteine. And then with the eumelanins, the difference in the eumelanins is dopa, the dopa conversion and the quinone conversion. So
Yeah, that comes from tyrosine tyrosinase activity.
yeah.
So you basically what you was talking about. You was talking about Nordic whites versus Italians.
It's not exactly that simple because when you look at light-skinned black folks that have freckles,
Yeah.
so it starts there with light-skinned folks with freckles all the way to folks that have very little visible skin pigment. But the person slipped into their commentary people that have no melanin and then mixed in the pheomelanin. So, like Grok kind of came in with a little more science where their commentary left off, but there is no such thing really as people with no melanin. Like even albinos have melanin. So there's no such thing as people with no melanin. That's yeah.
Well, he said little melanin.
Yeah, but we got to kind of be specific.
Right.
It's not little melanin. It's just a different type. It's pheomelanin as opposed to eumelanin. And then when we're having the pheomelanin, eumelanin conversation, we're only really talking about the skin. We're not getting to the neuromelanin throughout the brain, right? So there's neuromelanin in the brain. You have cardiac melanocytes running your heart. Right.
Wait a second. So you telling me that the melanin in my skin has no effect on the melanin in my brain?
It's unrelated. It's different populations.
Okay.
It's different populations. So you can have that it gets a little crazy.
Well, if there's light and light is information,
Yes, sir.
and the first thing it touches is my skin.
Yeah.
And that information's got to go up to the neurons. There's a connection somewhere. Something's happening somewhere.
I have a theory, and we'll see how well it ages. But my theory is that either melanocytes are specialized neurons or neurons are specialized melanocytes. But one of those two things has to be true.
Which one is it, Tanei?
I mean, that's EnQi's realm. Like if I had to wager a guess, man, I mean, you really got to think about the body as, I think the simplest analogy is like the body is a system of pulleys, levers, and loops. And when you think about the mechanical aspects and the energy aspects and the electrical aspects, like everything is connected in some way. Like, and even things that we think are unrelated, like a lot of people like knee pain. Like people think that like knee pain originates in your knees, but some of it can originate in your ankles, some of it can originate from your back, some of it can originate from your hips.
Yeah.
And that's because the pulley system is out of alignment, right? Like your body actually has like internal not potentiometer, but essentially your body can sense when you're sitting down versus when you're standing up, and it will adjust your muscles and your tendons depending on what kind of position you're in. So and all of that comes from mechanical impulse and electrical impulse. So there has to be some connection between the sunlight that you're getting and actually transmitting information throughout your body. Like it's telling your body to do something. There's some intermediate in there that is allowing that information to transmit, right? And even with they're talking like people talking about there's no like having little melanin. Well, there are a lot of people, and then people don't talk about it, there's a lot of people that are fair skinned that don't get sunburn or like don't have issues with absorbing sunlight. A lot of it can come from diet. If you eat like pigment-rich foods, those pigments actually go under your skin. So the more pigments you eat, the more actually goes under your skin and helps your body with absorbing the different UV rays that come into contact with your skin. And I think they talk about it as part of building what they call your solar callus. So just like you go in the weight room, you lift weights, right? Over time, as you lift weights, you start to develop calluses on your hand. Well, your skin does the same thing with sunlight. As it repeatedly gets exposed to sunlight, it becomes easier and easier. Well, your skin, it doesn't get hard in a sense, but it's able to absorb more and more sunlight over time, just like
they gotta eat that. They gotta eat the pigment though.
Yeah,
that's the key part. They got to eat the pigment. If they're not getting the chlorophylls and the beta carotenes and the blues and the purples and the.
See, I knew it. We got to make America black again. I knew it. We got to get white folks eating more pigment. Find a black man and put him in your mouth.
Well, listen, that's the diet. That's our diet plan. You know, we don't promote the vegan or the meat.
I don't think EnQi heard you.
Yeah, we promote pigment and fiber.
That was crazy. That was crazy. I don't think EnQi heard you.
What?
Nothing.
There's no way he heard you. That was a violation.
No, I said eat your pigments, man. Eat your pigments.
No, that's a fact. You got to eat your pigments. That's what we promote. A pigment and fiber diet.
Yeah, y'all heard him. Chat. Y'all heard him. Y'all heard what he said.
I'm just trying to bring everybody together. We're
gonna send them people to AJ house before the night is over.
AJ tried to put the neuralizer up and make sure nobody heard what he said. I promise you. Chat heard him. EnQi might not have heard him, but Chat heard him.
Well, you supposed to drop dime. What he said?
Look, hey. I don't know about all this snitching. You have to run the tape back. But it was whatever he said was definitely there. It was
a violation.
There. It was definitely a violation.
What
people coming?
What are the pigment-rich foods that we're talking about here? What are we talking about? Anything with color?
Anything might be on a slippery slope here on the KeMedicine show with you. So I just normally, like, if we was on my channel, anything with pigment, like, the people would have a range to understand, like, okay, yeah, we know what he's talking about. But over here, we might have to be more specific than just saying anything. So, your algae, your fruits, your vegetables, things of that nature, your greens, your reds, your blues, your purples, all of those kind of things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But particularly, you need to get your wide variety of vitamin A's. You have a very wide variety of vitamin A. Vitamin A comes in like 6 different major forms, and you need all of them.
And what's that do?
Ooh, vitamin A is at the GOAT level. Yeah, I could go crazy with vitamin A. I mean,
well, before you go crazy with vitamin A, Tanei, what the hell is vitamin A? I know you're gonna give us the.
Man, why you let that man talk?
Because I want you to tell us what it is from the university level. Then he's gonna give it to us from the street level.
Okay. So vitamin A essentially is, I'm pretty sure vitamin A should be fat soluble. But essentially is long chain, like it's a terpene derivative. And it has a lot of conjugation and carbon bonds. So what I mean by conjugation is there's a lot of carbon bonds that are linked together that allow you to transmit electrons, right? And that's why they have these wide range of colors. So anytime you're able to have a lot of, we call them pi electrons, right? We call them pi electrons because when you look at chemical bonds,
they're like in a little cloud.
They're like in a cloud, right? And so these electrons are shared back and forth between each other in what we call covalent bonds. And so together, valent is the cloud, the valency shell is the cloud that the electrons are in, right? So in a covalent bond, you have 2 carbons or, carbon and something else that are sharing electrons with each other. Sometimes you can have carbon share 2 different bonds, and sometimes they can share 3 different bonds, which means they can either share 2 sets of electrons, which is 4 total, or they can share 3 sets of electrons, which is 6 total. So when you have a lot of what we call conjugation is multiple sets of double bonds connected to each other. When that happens, it kind of turns into like a little electron highway. When you do that, you have a lot of different energy states that can exist. And when you have those different energy states, that's when electrons can go into excited state and ground state. And that fluctuation between the excited state and the ground state allows the different colors that come out. So you absorb this light, and then it spits it back out as a photon.
Oh, and no, I was just going to add in there real quick. Like that's a part of that binary code that your body constantly is working with in a variety of levels. So we ground state, excited state. I just was going to throw that out there.
Yeah. So in quantum mechanics, when we talk about so quantum mechanics is on a chemistry level, right? Because you can go like really deep into it on the physics level, but on the chemistry level, quantum mechanics really is about probability. It's about if you were to take a snapshot at any given point in time of where an electron could possibly be, where are all the positions it could be? And within all of those positions, what energy does it have to occupy that space? And so quantum mechanics really is just a numbers game at the end of the day, but each one of those numbers gives you a different kind of energy. And based on whatever energy is possible, you got ground state configurations, you can have excited state configurations. And when you go from ground state to excited state, essentially that electron has gained enough energy to go into an energy level that it would normally not access. And when that happens, it does have to come down at some point. When that happens, that energy is released as light. And sometimes we can see it, sometimes we can't.
Damn. Word. What that nigga said. So
Netcher, what that Netcher said.
So that's vitamin A. Vitamin A is that last part where the photons is popping and all that?
No, that whole part. The
whole thing is vitamin A. With the multiple electron highways and whatnot.
Yeah, and so
the broad name that we call them in organic chemistry is carotenoids. Carotenoid type compounds are generally under the vitamin A umbrella.
Okay, EnQi. So tell us about vitamin A. What's the rabbit hole you done figured out?
It's a zillion of them. But I'll start with this. All right, and try to make it as simple as possible. So that's what I was telling you, with our Jada and Styles and Starsky and Hutch thing we're going to do. Like he going to take y'all into a, he going to go, and then I'm going to have to try to translate, and make it as plain as possible. So when we're talking about pigments, right? And I'm glad he explained it the way he did, because he mentioned physics and he separated quantum mechanics. One of the biggest problems with understanding how our bodies work is understanding that there are two separate laws or two separate groups of laws that governs our biochemistry. Physics typically starts with atoms and then goes above that. So you have atoms, compounds, molecules, blah, blah, blah. That's typically the world of physics. Quantum mechanics is typically everything beneath that. So subatomic particles, electrons, protons, photons, that's typically the world of quantum mechanics. Now, without getting too sciencey, pigments, God has blessed us, or the universal intelligence has blessed us, all living creatures, with a substance broadly categorized as pigments. Pigments is the magical substance that works in that middle space. Pigments translates the subatomic to the atomic, the infinitesimally small and almost untouchable and unknowable to an extent, which is why when you get into quantum mechanics, it's more about probabilities than exactitudes, because you can't really be sure what's happening there, to the world of physics, where we kind of have a lot more of an understanding of what exactly is going on.
So it's a middleman.
It's a very magical middleman. And depending on the type of pigment, it determines what type of input and what type of translation. So like chlorophyll, for instance, we know what chlorophyll's doing. Chlorophyll photosynthesis is packaging sunlight and carbohydrates for us, typically the energy of hydrogen, right? Melanin is more of an interface between electricity and water. When we get to the beautiful world of carotenoids, or the pigments that go from like dark yellows to your oranges and your reds, and even bleeds over into like your purples, those all have carotenoids in there. And in your body, a lot of them, some of them are used as is, like lutein and zeaxanthin. Your eyes use them just as they are. Lutein and zeaxanthin go right to your eye. The same way you ate them, they travel right to your eye and immediately work to prevent like cataracts and all that kind of stuff. Other types of vitamin A's are converted into retinoic acid and retinols and things like that. They have another job. They work with opsins. And then they also work with stem cells, and then they work with stellate cells or star cells. So in the world of stellate cells and star cells is where like the newer information is, because up to now, they've been promoting this idea that you cannot prevent your heart from creating fiber tissue on it. And when your heart gets a bunch of fiber tissue or scar tissue, it's permanent and your heart's dying and it's a wrap. We're learning now that certain types of vitamin A can prevent fiber tissue from happening, right? Not only in the heart can vitamin A protect you, but also in your liver. Vitamin A can protect you. And vitamin A is definitely fat soluble and is stored as such. So it's best to consume, like if you're trying to put together your eating program, it's best to try to get your vitamin A's in with some healthy fats. But yeah, there's a bunch of things that vitamin A's do, including stimulate stem cells to differentiate into melanocytes. Yeah, so vitamin A or carotenoids or retinoic acid. It's different names. Like if you go to the vitamin place and you try to buy vitamin A, typically vitamin A is going to be in the vitamin shop or the GNC, like wherever you go. That's what you're going to find from like $5 up to like $20. When you go from like 15 to like 30, 40, $50, you're going to find your retinols. And those are more expensive because it's a little bit more bioavailable, a little bit more high quality, but it's better to try to get those things from actual foods than supplements.
Damn. All right.
It's better to try to get those things from foods than supplements. And if you eat a lot of vitamin A, like he was saying, that a lot of pigments will still be active in your body. Vitamin A is one of those things. So if you eat a lot of sweet potatoes and a lot of carrots, like just to simplify, you eat a bunch of sweet potatoes and carrots, you'll literally see the palms of your hand begin to get orange and then red.
What?
Yeah. If you eat a bunch of carrots and sweet potatoes, you will literally see the palms of your hands, like, because you too black. I'm too black to see it in the skin. Like white folks, they will see their whole entire body start to turn red because of how much carotenoids they're consuming. But as black folks, we're not going to see it on our whole body. We will only be able to see it on the palms of our hand and the palms of our feet.
Yeah.
Start turning red.
It'll happen with cinnamon and turmeric too. If you eat a lot of that, then you'll start to see it in your skin too.
Yep, saffron. It's a lot of things that's high in vitamin A that are there. But then it's others like women with breast milk, right? If the breast milk is like a really plain color, that's how you can tell like the nutrition is not there. You should be able to see the reds, the greens, and the blues in the breast milk, and then you know the breast milk is high, like super high quality.
See, in Otepistan, we got the science lab, the science laboratory, and we're trying to figure out how to turn white people into black people to save the planet. So maybe we need like some
No,
black.
you don't need no science for that. That's like basic 101 fruitful and multiply. All they got to do, white folks just got to have sex and make babies with black folks, and then bam. That's like easy peasy 1, 2, 3. You don't need nothing but like a little jazz music. You know what I'm saying? Little jazz,
Little Barry White.
a little half a joint. You know what I mean? Little jazz, little. You know what I mean? Nice little dinner. You know what I'm saying? Put something together, and you know, folks will do a little something strange for not even for a piece of change. You just create the right ambiance, and things will take place. All by itself.
All right. We talked about that too. We talked because I figure, since white people I was watching Dr. Cresswell and she was talking about all the diseases that come with white people. And I'm like, if we're going to save white people, we got to make them black. It's the only way to save them.
Okay, so here's the thing. Francis Cress Welsing was like a superhero of mine. I love Francis Cress Welsing. But
he about to. I know it was coming.
I'm just saying we got to put the brakes on some of the OGs because a lot of the science was mixed with militant. It wasn't all all wise, right, and exact. You know what I'm saying? Some of that stuff was scientifically accurate. But then there was a lot of stuff that was just charged to make people feel good and inspire them to listen to the things that they couldn't understand. I'm just being super real.
Like, man, we done said a couple times, Auntie burn the cornbread a little bit. Like,
yeah. Come on now, that's yeah. Because people think about it. We talking about now in 2025, people don't understand the science. So 20 years ago, you could forget about it. You know what I'm saying? So, but people was in that phase with the white man is the devil. You know what I'm saying? So you can get people riled up with that rhetoric. And then in that state of riled upness, you could start talking to them about some advanced concepts that you probably couldn't have got them in the seat to pay $20 to come to a lecture to listen to. So when you listen to the OGs, you got to understand they mixing, it's like 30% science with 20%, it's
a little marketing and sales is in there. Yeah. I got the Move Rocks for sale. $280 on sale tonight just because the brothers are joining me. If y'all need those, Cash App, Hotep Jesus, $280 the same to Move Rocks. Nerd Nash said, we made them white, so that shouldn't be hard. Oh, man.
Okay, yeah, see, Nerd Nash, you might be going crazy.
Stephen B. Somebot, he says, is it necessary to add that to my diet? I'm generally careful about sun exposure. I don't tan or brown up as easy as I did when I was younger. I'm coming into the middle of this and not really caught up with the content. My ethnicity is Southern Mediterranean and Native American.
Okay, wait. Let me just stop you right there so I could be hypothetically stopping him right there. Vitamin A, and see, this is why it's important to separate the science from the other. Vitamin A is required for every single human being that wants to continue to be alive. End of story.
I think he's gonna die though. He not gonna make it.
Unnecessary. That was crazy. I need to stop you. We're gonna throw a flag on the play right there. Matter of fact, we're just gonna take the ball. That's turnover. We don't even care if you was on 1st and 10. You throwed out the game right there. They better sub another player in for you right.
You should see he called himself a mongrel. He said, I'm a mongrel, Southern Med Sicilian and Plains native.
Yeah, he trolling. God bless his soul. He trolling. Listen.
He gonna die. You gonna die before the year is out, bro. Stay out the sun. Stay out the sun. Stop eating.
Don't allow him to pull you into the rabbit hole.
Stop eating. Stop eating now.
Listen, that's a void he's trying to create and suck you into a black hole. Listen. Yeah, that might have sounded a little crazy. We're just gonna say pause just in case. We're just gonna say pause just in case. But listen to what I'm saying. Every human, it doesn't matter what your ethnicity, what you're mixed with, what you're not mixed with, white, black, in the middle, in between, like male, everybody needs vitamin A. Everybody needs a variety of vitamin A too. Everybody needs that. That's why some of these bodybuilding diets are very dangerous because bodybuilders they don't rely on getting nutrition from food. Bodybuilders believe that nutrition and macros, they believe macros is nutrition and everything else they can get from a pill. So you watch bodybuilders, they just gonna eat chicken breast and white rice 5 times a day. They're gonna eat, and then the crazy thing is they're gonna keep doing video, and this is what messes me up.
Wait,
What they're eating in a day is somehow different than the other bodybuilder. Like, bro, we know what you're eating today. You're gonna have some oatmeal, some chicken breast, some white rice, and you're gonna do it again and again and again and again. Stop it. You might sprinkle over, oh, I'm gonna have a little red meat today because I'm trying to get a little bit more vascular. Like, stop this madness. Bodybuilders eat about 6 different foods, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, and most of it is not vegetables. They believe on getting, they believe in middlemen. Bodybuilders believe in middlemen. I don't believe in middlemen. I was raised in the Bronx by a family of hustlers. We was always taught cut out the middlemen. If you're dependent on eating animal products, so just for people that don't understand what I'm saying, if you're depending on eating animal products for your nutrition, you're depending on the middleman because the animal was not thinking about you. The animal is not thinking, I'm going to make sure I don't metabolize all this vitamin A. So that way, when this guy kills me and packages me, there'll be enough vitamin A left over in my thigh so that when homeboy cooks my thighs for dinner, he will, like, that's not that. You're getting whatever leftover nutrients are in the carcass of that animal, number one, that you didn't cook out during the cooking process, number two. So I'm not saying don't eat the animal products. I'm just saying don't rely on them for your nutrition. Make sure you're adding in fruits and vegetables and grains and things like that where you can go straight to the source of nutrition.
kitchen chemistry. Tanai, you agree with what he's saying here that the bodybuilding, the rice and chicken every day is bad? What are your thoughts on what he said?
In the absence of vitamin A, because vitamin A actually helps stimulate muscle growth, through myoblast formation. So you need vitamin myoblast, MYOBLASTS.
Baby muscles. Like, just you gotta break it down. You gotta break this baby muscle. You got the muscle version of stem cells is called satellite cells. And so when you stimulate the satellite cells, you get the development, of new muscles, and those new cells contribute nuclei to the existing muscles. And not only do you develop larger muscles, but you develop muscle memory from the amount of nuclei you have in the muscle tissue. So yeah. Myoblast, like baby muscles.
My bad. Okay, so tonight, continue what you were saying.
No, that's I mean, you need like that pigment helps with the hormone regulation and actually telling your muscles to grow. So like if you're vitamin A deficient, then you're leaving a lot of gains on the table, more or less, because it does help with stimulating new muscle growth. Muscle growth muscle growth is a really interesting process because it's about having the right amount of protein at the right time, but also having it with carbs, because the carbohydrates are what actually allows you to utilize the protein. And so this is when you kind of get into the macros, like EnQi was just talking about the macros, where a lot of people focus on macros, right? So I've been on this training program for like almost 12 weeks now, right? And one of the things that my trainer emphasizes is he goes kind of through like all three, where we look at macros, micros, and hormones, where your macros influence what you're going to look like. The hormones influence how your macros are used, and then your micros influence how you feel. And so when you're looking at these different sources, you have to think about like energy and how your body wants to use energy. So this kind of goes to like the visceral fat conversation, where I think, I think we're going to talk about this later on, but I mean, we can just kind of go into it now. So your body preferentially wants to use two different sources of energy. It wants to use carbs and wants to use fat. All right. It preferentially wants to use carbs first. So your body will store glucose as glycogen in your muscles. And it will break it down when your body needs quick energy. So you go through glycolysis, that those your acetyl-CoA gets fed into the citric acid cycle, and then you go through oxidative phosphorylation, respiration, all this stuff, right? So this basically feeds your ATP. This feeds your mitochondria, give you ATP, give you energy, right? So the other form of it is
Wait. Before you go to fats.
Okay.
You was going next, fats? You was getting ready to go to fats?
Yeah, I was just gonna go to fats.
Okay, so before you go to fats, we're gonna stick with carbs for a second and glycogen, right? This is also where like it's a major purpose of your muscle getting larger, because when you exercise, you're telling you're basically pushing the muscle to its limit or just beyond its limit, and you're sending the messages, the neurotransmission, that you need more. You need more strength. A part of more strength is more energy. And so what happens is the muscle needs to grow so that you can hold more substrates, and so you can metabolize more substrates. One of those main substrates is glycogen. And when you get into the subject of glycogen, that's kind of where you open up the conversation to break down type 1 muscle fibers, intermediate muscle fibers, and then your fast twitch muscle fibers.
Yeah, fast twitch, slow twitch, yeah.
Yeah. And so your slow twitch don't really have as much glycogen as your fast twitch. Fast twitch is where you get most power from because they store the most glycogen. Slow twitch, on the other hand, it's red because it has all of the blood. So even like when you go to the supermarket and you decide in red meat versus white meat, people are like, I don't eat red meat. Red meat is your slow twitch muscle because it's red because it has a lot of blood flow to it. Fast twitch muscle doesn't have blood flow to it. Fast twitch muscle is white meat. So your power is primarily your fast twitch. Your endurance is primarily your slow twitch. So as you build the muscle, you build the ability to store more glycogen in the muscles. But the thing is, glycogen depletion is where you stimulate the neurochemistry to get your body to heal and regenerate, and then you transition over into the fat. Take it away.
So that's where
To
a lot of bodybuilders talk about like carb refeeds and like carb cycling and stuff like that, because you're
correct.
trying to get your body to like make more glycogen, but it's also a signal for your body to like start to heal and repair. And so glycogen is really similar to starch. In fact, it's like it's just your body's storage form of
Like
glucose.
the human form, yeah, the human.
It's just a human form of starch. Like if you were like a potato, stuff like how they store glucose, like we store it in the same way. So then you have like fats, right? And so fats is basically like your long-term energy stores. That's going to be your fatty acids. It gets locked up in triglycerides, and that goes through a separate energy breakdown process called beta oxidation. But the substrates that you end up with, so the molecules that end up getting metabolized by your mitochondria, they eventually end up turning into the same thing. Carbs break down into acetyl-CoA. Fats also break down into acetyl-CoA because that's what your mitochondria use to generate energy, right? So essentially, like this is where you go into the hormonal conversation, right? And so this is where you got to talk about insulin, ghrelin.
Wait, before you get there,
Okay.
acetyl-CoA becomes cholesterol and then your steroid hormones. Simplify.
Right, simplified. So then you get into the hormone conversation, right? And so this is where you have to think about energy balance as a thermodynamic principle that is regulated by hormones. And what the modern food industry does is it tries to uncouple the thermodynamic regulation from your hormonal regulation. And so at the end of the day, losing weight, gaining weight it's C code. Calories in, calories out, right? If you eat in surplus, you're gonna gain weight. If you eat in a deficit, you're gonna lose weight, right? The classic example of that, I can't remember his name. I think his name's like Mark Taub, but he was I think he's a nutritionist at Kansas State. He did this thing called the junk food diet, right? Has anybody, so Chad may have heard about the junk food diet. So okay,
I don't like this guy, but go ahead. I know exactly.
So
he showed that you can eat terrible food and still
lose weight. But this was the thing that they kind of hid in the study, right? Was that like, yeah, he would eat like, candy, pastries and stuff, and as long as he was in a calorie deficit, he was still losing weight, right? But one of the things that they didn't highlight in the study was that when he was around his kids, he would eat vegetables. So the vegetables were still helping him regulate hormonally so that he wouldn't continue to eat like this hypocaloric food, right? But the problem that a lot of modern food has is that it's mixing a lot of carbs and fats. And so carbs are going to spike your insulin response, and that's going to tell your body to store energy. That's going to tell that's going to tell your body to store carbs as glycogen. It's also going to tell your body to store whatever fat comes in as triglycerides, right? And so and then it's going to make, and the more you consume both of these energy sources at the same time, the more your metabolic pathways get uncoupled from hormonal regulation, which essentially means your body feels like it's starving, but it has an excess of energy that it can't process, and it can't process it efficiently.
That's where I have to, that's where I have beef with certain online personalities, because they promote leptin as if leptin is the biochemical savior. And leptin is the main thing that the fast food biochemists have mastered to operate as a double agent, rogue agent in your body. Leptin is not a part of the answer. Leptin is a big part of the problem. Leptin in a natural body is the thing that tells your body, okay, we had enough to eat, we're good, move on. The fast food biochemists have mastered the ability of controlling leptin so that leptin can tell your brain, you're good, you eaten already, but you have had zero nutrition in that food. So what's going to happen is within 30 minutes or 40 minutes of having a completely full stomach, you're going to belch, and it's going to feel like you didn't eat anything because none of the things your body requires for regeneration is in there. You didn't get no vitamins in that food. You didn't get no minerals, no antioxidants, very little protein, almost no fiber. Like, you don't have anything in there but sugar and starch. So your body's going to realize nothing that it needs was in that, and it's going to send you to eat again. And that's how you get on the treadmill to people having these high calorie diets, but at the same time,
They're starving.
They're starving. They're not getting no real nutrition into their body.
And the food is engineered that way, right? So you have to think about how the food is engineered to like bypass these systems. And so one of the big culprits, I think we were talking last week about sugar and artificial sugars. The main, so you got high fructose corn syrup and you got like sucrose, right? Sucrose is a molecule of glucose and it's a disaccharide. It's a molecule, disaccharide, two sugars. It's a molecule of glucose and a molecule of fructose together, right? So glucose, when it comes into your body, it goes through glycolysis, right? Which that's basically the process of your body breaking down glucose so that it can be used for respiration in your mitochondria. The glycolytic pathway, if I can remember it correctly, has 3 checkpoints that basically check to see how much of the next substrate is available. And if there's enough, it will shuttle that substrate somewhere else. So essentially your body will stop production of acetyl-CoA to go into respiration, right? Fructose bypasses one of those checkpoints. So the initial checkpoint, I think, is the transformation of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, and that is catalyzed by hexokinase. Then the next checkpoint, I think, is for 2,2,6 fructose bisphosphate. I'm pretty sure that's the second one.
That's
but
fructose
bypasses that step, right? So when it bypasses that step, I think it skips like 3 steps in the glycolytic pathway. So essentially the food is engineered to bypass these different pathways and decouple, like I said earlier, your hormonal regulation and your feedback mechanisms from knowing that there's enough energy available. And when that happens, when you have that dysregulation between what's coming in and how it's regulated, it's like a train going off the tracks, right? There's no way to like really stop it. And you get stuck in this feedback loop until you can restore sensitivity. So this is where people talk about insulin resistance. Well, but they don't talk about leptin resistance. And that's like what EnQi was saying, like the food is engineered for you to also be resistant to leptin too. So when you become resistant to leptin, it's a vicious cycle of also being resistant to insulin. So
yeah, leptin, insulin, and estrogen like team up into a nasty little trio of disease-causing craziness.
And so when you have that hormonal dysregulation, again, it's difficult to maintain the correct energy balance. So people are correct in saying that, it's all calories in, calories out at the end of the day. But you have hormones that are driving these hunger signals. And so it's very difficult. It's very difficult sometimes to understand what is happening when I was like, damn, I just ate like 20 minutes ago. Why am I hungry again?
Yeah, because leptin is going to give you the false flag, so you keep eating high calorie meals with no nutrition. Those high calorie meals with no nutrition, your body has to tuck away somewhere. So now that's going to become fat. Your body's going to just move that out of the way, zoop. So you got room to eat again. So your insulin level goes up. Insulin also says store fat. Now, as the fat cells are storing more fat, the fat cells are producing more estrogen. And estrogen says more fat. Estrogen also tells your body produce less testosterone because testosterone is nasty. Testosterone wants to reduce the fat cells. So let's lower down the testosterone so we can make more fat. So that's where you get into these nasty little loops where hormones that don't necessarily, like, it's not necessarily what you want to go on, but they like move in cliques and they'll reinforce each other and put you in a bad spot. So it would seem like, almost like they're alive and they have minds of their own, but it's just that they have programming and they have jobs to do. And if we don't understand how our input operates, or sets the algorithms for the programming, the patients are running the insane asylum and things get crazy from there.
And so then the pharmaceutical industry steps in with their solution Ozempic and these GLP-1 drugs, right? Because all the GLP-1 drugs are doing is mimicking that signal to tell you to stop eating. Like that's all it's doing is it's generally restoring that signal to just tell you to stop eating, right? But when you put the matrix back into the food that also normally regulates those signals, which is the fiber and the protein, I think it's more so fiber.
No, it's definitely fiber, because what happens is when you eat the fiber, your microbiome is actually producing the GLP-1 agonist naturally. You naturally produce the GLP-1 agonist if you have
it's
a
also
certain amount of
producing
fiber.
it's also producing the short chain fatty acids, right?
That's right.
So this is where like the apple cider vinegar comes in, right? A lot of people say they've used like ACV for weight loss. Well, then the acetic acid is considered a short chain fatty acid.
Facts.
Butyrate.
Yeah, so if you have your fiber,
you
have your fiber, you good. You produce your own vinegar, technically, and GLP-1 agonists.
So and that's why, like people were talking about like the different diets, like, carnivore, keto, stuff like that. I mean, I think a lot of those work because of calorie restriction, right? They help because you're going back to the thermodynamics, right? You're going back to the CECO, the calories in, calories out. And a lot of times when you first start a diet program, you're just more conscious of what you're doing. Like you're more conscious of what you're eating. You're paying attention to what you're eating. Like you're logging what you're doing. So it's like, I've heard there's plenty of times, whatever you intend to change, you track it. And when you track it, you get a good idea of like, oh, damn, I know I was wilding out like that. So like then you kind of rein it in a little bit. And then as you start to rein it in, then your body starts to respond to it, right? And this was one of the interesting things about the junk food diet, because it was purely CECO. It was purely just thermodynamics. He's eating all this hypocaloric junk. And the interesting thing about that study was, I think he ended up losing like 20 or 30 pounds, and every single one of his blood markers got better. Triglycerides, cholesterol, like general inflammation in the body, like everything got better. And the interesting thing was he was like really torn at the end of the study. He was like, yeah, all this stuff happened, but I don't know if I can, like, in good faith, like recommend this to people. Like I did it to prove a point in my class, but is this really like what we're supposed to be doing? But I think the main thing that it highlights is at the end of the day, it is thermodynamics. It's energy balance. It's energy in, energy out.
And it works in the short term.
And it does work in the short term, but you also have to understand the hormonal regulation that comes behind it. So Chad probably knows, and EnQi probably knows too, about Jason Fung. Jason Fung did the diabetes code, the obesity code, and he talks a lot about the hormonal side of it. And even like, so from doing like my own little weight loss, like I do recognize that, because a lot of people think you can go to the gym and that's where you're going to lose the majority of your calories. You do not lose weight in the gym. You go to the gym to get strong. Like you
don't lose fat in the gym.
You don't lose fat in the gym.
Yeah, you can burn some sugar in there, or
muscle.
You can convert some sugar in there before the chat jump on me like, oh, you can convert.
You almost messed up.
Yeah, I know you watching, waiting for your moment. Cause see, what I got Tanei in here, we like two lions with one piece of steak with the microphone. So you don't even have room to jump in and do your normal trolling right now.
I do. There's plenty of room. Trust me. There's plenty of room. I'm just being respectful. Do not tempt me. Ladies and gentlemen, all you heard right now was an ad to go out and get Apex, our hormone stabilizer. This thing right here is going to help you balance your hormones. That's all you heard. You heard a big and you heard a commercial for Fitboy, fitboy.app. Go get fitboy.app. What did Tanei say? When you tracking your stuff, you more conscious of stuff. So go download the app. It's free. And let's make America Hotep again. Sorry, Tanei.
No, you're good. Yeah. So I think that's probably one of the biggest mindset shifts that I've had. I mean, because I've gone on weight loss plans and all this other stuff, and like lost weight, regain. And I think the big thing that is helpful is just to remember that, you're going to the gym to get strong, right? You're not going to the gym to burn fat. You're going to make your body more functional, make it more resistant to gravity and time as a whole, right? And that's even reflected in how your total daily energy expenditure is broken down. Like you have your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, you have exercise that may go on like during the day, but your exercise actually accounts for very little of the calories that you burn in a day, right? And when you do, and that's where the deficits and the surplus come in, as far as like you losing weight and gaining weight. But again, all of that is predicated on how your hormones are telling you to get nutrition or tell you to eat, tell you to stop eating, things like that. And also regulating, how your body utilizes your energy sources. So I think we were talking about this off air, but like I tried keto for like a week and I lost like 3 pounds of muscle. And that was like one of the clear signs to me that like, okay, like carbs are really necessary.
Okay, wait. Let me stop you for a second. See, this is one of those dangerous spaces right here. These online personalities, 97.999 of these online personalities, like Thomas DeLaurer and all these guys are on steroids. So as they're promoting certain programs and diets, it never pans out for the people at home, because you're going to try the program minus the steroids. So now, had you went on that same keto program that you did, and you were taking some testcipionate,
The TRT,
if you was on that TRT, you would have not only not lost 4 pounds of muscle, you would have gained probably 6 pounds of muscle, and then you would have been like, yeah, so keto is amazing, because see, what I did was I was taking the walnuts and I was having the avocado smoothie, and so no, you was taking them butt shots.
now that's definitely a pause. Like, we gotta rein that in.
I was just gonna let that fly, just so people could burn. I was gonna let.
We can't. I got a lot of love for you, but we can't let that one go.
Listen. You got. Let me tell you something. You got guys. Listen, you got guys that are taking anywhere from 5 to 10 different shots in the butt every day.
Chad, I ain't gotta do nothing this week, and they wilding out on their own.
Listen, for the people that don't know at home, muscle peptides and steroids are usually suggested to inject them into your butt cheeks. So just in case, some people don't know what I'm saying, the people that have experience with steroids or muscle peptides, they understand what I'm saying. Like, people are shooting these things into their butt cheeks. And what I'm saying is, this is insane to be giving yourself 5 or 10 needles per day for muscle building, or even, for some of these fat loss, drugs. It's crazy.
I mean, I think puncturing the skin is kind of wild to begin with, but that's like a whole nother rabbit hole. I mean, because like the skin is engineered to keep stuff in, so like, why are you constantly breaking it? Like, there's a purpose for it being there and it being intact. So, but that's a whole nother thing. But anyway, so
wow.
Yeah, so like I said, I did that for a little bit. Like I said, I lost a lot of muscle, so I was like, okay, like this is clearly not working. And so I went back to just more carbs. And my thought was, okay, you got to have the glycogen. And if your muscles are full of glycogen and water, your body can't break down that muscle tissue for energy, right? And when it's full of those nutrients, you're able to get through your workouts better. And then when you replenish those things after your workout, it's actively telling your body to prioritize muscle. It's actively telling your body to prioritize putting those nutrients back into your muscle. And in doing that, it's telling your body, keep this, but use the other stuff that we don't have to put nutrients in. So you're not putting nutrients into your fat cells in that way. So now your body can start to tap into it. And so when I started doing that, that was when I really noticed, like, okay, like this, like we're going in the right direction. And so
Now that's where the other side comes in. That's the melanin concentrating hormone. That's the other side of
that we don't see. Yeah.
yeah. That's the other side. So that's the important part, is that carbs actually help you to build muscle, which is what people don't really discuss. They say zero carb, zero carb, zero carb. The reason being is because they're trying to get rid of subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat gives people the illusion of being healthy. When you have very little or no subcutaneous fat, that's the fat that's just beneath your skin then presses up against your muscles, and you could see veins and you look shredded and blah, blah, blah. But you can have low amounts of subcutaneous fat and you can have high amounts of visceral fat at the same time, or dangerous levels of visceral fat at the same time. Hence, different types of skinny fat people. So, it's a lot more than just what meets the eye. You know what I'm saying? But carbs, you definitely need to have carbs, because carbs determine whether your body goes into anabolism or catabolism or not. Catabolism is when your body starts to break down the structure of itself to feed itself. Catabolism is when your body goes cannibal. You start to literally eat yourself to provide yourself with energy. But once you have the energy, your body will maintain the collagen, the bones, and the muscle. Because those are other things that don't even enter the conversation. Bone and collagen. Collagen and bone are also made from protein, also made from amino acid. So when your body starts to breaking down muscle, it's not just like, oh, we're gonna target the muscle. It's all of your amino acid structures get weaker, and so your bones get less dense, your collagen gets more frail, and yeah, your muscle tissue breaks down. Now, folks that's trying to pose and sell, sell their six pack, they don't really care about that. But folks that's trying to do the longevity thing is dependent more on your bone marrow health than anything else, because your bone marrow produces your immune cells, your bone marrow produces your red blood cells, your bone marrow is responsible for your ability to, like, once you get over 70 years old, people die from just falling on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Because they break a bone or something, and then their body can't heal because the bones are, the bone marrow is too, it's too deteriorated over time. So
So
you
there was a
got
study, I don't remember the name of the study. It came out recently. I want to say it was like the last month and a half, where leg muscle mass was correlated with an increase of longevity and a decrease of all-cause mortality. Um, and it basically had to do with your mobility. Just having more leg muscle mass just means that you're going to live longer, because you're going to avoid those falls. Like, you're going to avoid, tripping, falling, and when you build leg muscle mass, like, that also builds the density in your bones, because, again, like I was saying earlier, your body is a system of pulleys, levers, and loops. And so when you put that mechanical stress on your bones, that is a signal to your body to tell your bones to grow back more dense, so that they can handle the weight that they're being put under. And so, do your squats. I mean, squats, a lot of people like the skilled leg day,
Well,
but
let me tell you, there's
And the
another aspect to that.
piezoelectricity.
right.
There's another aspect to that beyond the mobility and the piezoelectricity, and it's a cheat code that I was using primarily. Like, I've been telling my folks, like, this year I've been a lot more loose lipped with information, but typically I would save this for like my one-on-one clients with obesity and diabetes, right? When you learn these two things, it revolutionizes your way of looking at type 2 diabetes specifically. Skeletal muscle is what metabolizes most of the sugar in your body. That's number one. The second thing
Wait,
is
say that again?
skeletal muscle is the primary tissue responsible for metabolizing sugar in your body.
What the hell is skeletal muscle? I was told it's a skeletal and there's muscle. How is there skeletal muscle?
Okay, you got three different types of muscle. You have skeletal muscle, which is the muscle that you can see when you look in the mirror. Skeletal muscle is what bodybuilders is posing. Your pecs, your delts, your quads, your hammies.
That's skeletal muscle.
That's skeletal muscle.
Okay.
Then you have your organs and your internal muscles. That's called smooth muscle tissue. And then you have your heart, which is its own universe. Your heart has its own category of muscle. That's cardiac muscle tissue.
Okay, so now go back to what you said. You said, what about skeletal muscle now?
Skeletal muscle is responsible for metabolizing most of the sugar in your body.
Okay.
Now, the second part to that is that the largest skeletal muscles in your body
Quads,
are in
right?
your legs.
Legs. Yep.
So now, if you just put those two things to work, you realize that you could drastically change the speed of how fast your body metabolizes sugar by utilizing your legs. The problem is our body, even our brain, was largely designed to facilitate movement via our legs. So a large part of our brain is attached to our legs. And so by us sitting down, or like they're coming out, they're going as far as to say now that sitting down for long periods of time is more dangerous than chain smoking cigarettes. Because when you sit down for long periods of time, you cut the blood flow to the lower extremities, which means that you literally cripple your body from being able to metabolize sugar because the largest muscle groups are cut off from activity. And the blood flow drops. Not only does the blood flow drop, but something called counter current heat exchange drops, which is where the blood leaving the center of the body is responsible for transferring light or heat to the blood coming from the floor, the bottom of the body, the capillaries, to keep everything flowing. When you start to lose that countercurrent heat exchange, you become a little bit more susceptible to blood clots and things like that. What people with diabetes deal with all the time. That's why they got to get their feet amputated or toes cut off and things like that. So just learning A, skeletal muscle, blood sugar. B, biggest skeletal muscles in the legs, right? We have made it a part of our religious ideology to walk. Like that's like walking, you know what I'm saying? Like one of the things I learned, and this is back in the late 90s, it was crazy for me to see this. Like in the 90s, when I first moved to Atlanta for the first time, when I first moved to Atlanta, I moved to Atlanta from the Bronx. In the Bronx, you got tenements, projects. We don't have subdivision, like gated housing and all that. So when I get down to Georgia, we moved to a little subdivision. Like they got the gym and the swimming pool, and you got a big old place for like $500 a month. And this is back in the 90s. And I don't know what's going on down there now, but they have your mail, like there's a building with all of the mailboxes in there. And so one thing I noticed in Georgia was that everybody was fat. You know what I'm saying? Like it was crazy, way different than New York. It's fat people everywhere, but when I got to Georgia, it was nuts. It was like everybody was like just like 40 pounds heavier. And I noticed that people drove their car everywhere. And that drove me crazy because people would ask me why I was walking everywhere. I'm walking to the store, I'm walking to the supermarket, I'm walking to the mailbox, and everybody's asking me, like, yo, why you walking when you got a car? I'm like, no, 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 no. See, the world is insane. So y'all think the only sane person is actually crazy because the world is. So I'm outside of society's norm, but no, 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 no. Y'all are the crazy folks because you could lose 15, 20 pounds just by walking here to wash your clothes, or walking here to the mailbox, or walking to the store to get a loaf of bread. Like, just those regular things. You don't need to drive an hour to go to the gym to get on the treadmill for 30 minutes. All you got to do is add regular walking back into your life, to all these little spots that's right close to your, and that'll drastically begin to change your metabolism. Because even NEAT, which is non-exercise,
Activity
non-exercise
thermogenesis.
metabolism, right? That's actually not fully contextually correct, because your non-exercise thermogenesis, or your resting metabolism, is still based on how much exercise you get. So this is why people that exercise have a higher amount of non-exercise thermogenesis, or people that exercise have a higher resting metabolic rate, because the people that exercise, their blood flows faster. Because your blood moves faster, you get more oxygen to the tissues. Because you get more oxygen to the tissues, you oxidate the fats, you oxidate the sugars, your body's able to metabolize. So you have what's considered to be a faster metabolism. Not only that, you have more incidental muscle growth, more incidental muscle building, just because you use your muscles more often, right? So we think of it like it's separate from exercise, because they say non-exercise, but or they say resting metabolism, but technically it's an aggregate of all of your exercise and your body's recovery processes from exercise. So technically, even when you're not walking, running, jumping, doing push-ups, whatever, your body is still in that process. That's where you get into autophagy, sirtuins, REM sleep, and all those things, because the process of regenerating, the process of healing, is anabolic. It's just that we associate anabolic with sports. We associate anabolic with bodybuilders, but a holistic practitioner, a naturopathic practitioner, is also trying to put your body in an anabolic state, because the anabolic state is the regenerative state. It's the healing state. It's the building state. You know what I'm saying? So all of those things actually come together. They're not really separate. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of those things come together. So that's why you kind of gotta, like, learn the language of what's going on inside your body, to be able to listen to your body better. And then once you listen, once you can communicate with your body better, you can do better, because everybody's body is different. There's a lot of things that's the same, but there's a lot of nuance when you're talking about the human body. And so you have to be able to get, best practices, so to speak, from folks, and share best practices. But you got to be able to personalize those best practices to your lifestyle, your body type, even further, your haplotype, your single nucleotide polymorphisms you done inherited, like your genetics, all of those things. Personalize what you need to do.
So
So
I did that from personal experience. So like I said, I've been working with this trainer. I've been on this program for like 12 weeks. And so one of the big things EnQi was just talking about was just like walking, right? And so one of the big things that walking does is, so everybody know, well, chat knows, insulin is what, tells your body to start to, use sugar and utilize sugar. And what it does is it recruits GLUT4
molecules.
molecules to the top of your cells to tell your body to start bringing glucose in, right? But GLUT4 is under hormonal regulation and mechanical regulation. So the more you move, the more GLUT4 actually gets recruited to the top of your cells to bring sugar out from your blood. So that's actually probably one of the fastest ways to reverse insulin resistance is to just get up and walk after you get finished eating. So like right now, like I said, I've been in this program for 12 weeks, average like 15,000 to like 17,000 steps a day. And just in doing that with like a reasonable calorie deficit, I think when I tracked, so I had my last in-body scan, what's today? It was today. So I lost in 12 weeks 35 pounds of fat and gained 6 pounds of muscle, and that's in a calorie deficit. Like being able to build muscle in a calorie deficit is already like a feat in and of itself, but a lot of that is attributed to just walking. Like,
well, let me add this real quick, because there's two ways to create a calorie deficit. Right. So there's forwards or backwards. So right. So you can cut down the amount of food you're eating, or you can add on to your activity and metabolize more calories. So if you're average every day, you metabolize about 2,000 calories, but you're consuming about 2,500, basically you're gaining a pound a week. But now, if you increase your activity, double your activity, you may go to metabolizing 3,000 calories a day. And so even if you continue to eat that same 2,500, you just went from gaining a pound a week to now you're losing a pound a week. And not only are you losing a pound a week, but you're doing it by stimulating muscle growth as opposed to focusing solely in on weight loss, because there's a difference between weight loss and fat loss, right? Fat loss is more focused and it's really more sustainable than weight loss. Weight loss is when you just go crazy, people trying to like fit into a smaller dress or smaller pants.
Ah, shit, we done lost him. Hey, W's in the chat for Tanei Ricks. He just lost 36 pounds.
So before he come back, I was go ahead.
W's in the chat for Tanei. My bad. You're Uncle Hotep right now, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I mean, one of the big things that changed is that I get up in the morning, first thing I do is walk, and I just try to get somewhere between like 2,000 and 3,000 steps.
Right.
And I mean, it's just like a quick walk around the neighborhood, and that kind of really just like primes you for the day. You just kind of get your mind right, and that's like outside. Like if I go to the gym or whatever, I strength train 4 times a week. I just do upper lower split, one rest day in between one, and then back-to-back rest days on my second split. And one of the big things that has helped a lot, like I said, and you can do this with any meal that you eat, just like whatever you eat, either get up and walk 15 20 minutes afterwards, or do like 10 to 20 air squats. That's going to tell your body to start pulling in whatever sugar is in your blood, start pulling it into your muscle cells, and it's also going to decrease the amount of insulin that you need to have the hormonal regulation of GLUT4, because you got the mechanical regulation of GLUT4. And so like EnQi was saying, so we call it energy flux. So energy flux is a combination of the calories that you're eating plus the energy that you're expending. And there's a lot of studies that show that people that go on calorie deficits to lose weight versus people that do calorie deficits plus activity, those people tend to lose more weight and keep it off, because what will end up happening is if you're just strictly on a calorie deficit, you'll get diminishing returns, right? Your body will start to adjust to the lower calories that you're using, and it'll start to like decrease its activity. So it'll start to decrease your daily need. So then you have to go into a more strict deficit to keep losing weight at the same rate. But if you keep your energy flux high, that allows you to stay at that same deficit, but while you're also building muscle, and so that increases your resting metabolic rate.
No, also mentally. You dial out mentally, and that's something that you can't really put that into studies. You know what I'm saying? I just know that from training so many people back in the days. You dial out mentally, because what happens is when you just drop calories, right? And you start losing quote unquote weight, none of what you imagine in your mind actually comes true. Like most people, when they have in their mind, like people go in the bathroom, of course, you get out the shower, you checking yourself out in the mirror, and you decide, yeah, I'm getting ready to lose this weight. I'm about to kill him this summer. I'm about to, I'm gonna have a 6-pack, or I'm about to get I'm gonna lose this stomach, so my booty stick out, or whatever it is you thinking, right? Nothing ever changes when you lose weight only. When you lose weight, you only become a smaller version of that person you see in the mirror that you're obviously unhappy with, that you want to change in the first place. So, unless there's a disease marker that you're trying to change, you don't stay motivated, because, yeah, you lost a little 5 pounds, you lost a little 10 pounds, but your body's not changing composition. When you start doing the exercise and you actually are changing the bone density, and you're changing the muscle density, and you're strengthening the ligaments and tendons, not only do you change the hormone cascade, right? But you're also changing the language that the cells speak to one another. So one of the things I stress in my classes is cells have a language of their own. It's called cytokines. It's how cells translate electricity into like their own spoken language. So you can look up cytokines for the people that are Google demon crazy, or you could look up interleukins, right? Interleukins is more like a specific language. If you look up cytokines, it'll give you a better, more broad, description. Um, but you change the cytokine production. And when you change the cytokine production along with your hormone cascade, and you change your neurotransmitter production, you change your entire trajectory for health into the future. So that's the difference between like working out just to get a bigger chest versus longevity, right? Longevity, you're more concerned with internal changes that's going to last for, long term. And that's changing the biochemistry. You change the neurotransmitters, you change the hormones, you change the cytokines, and more importantly, you change uh like a lower middle class. Like if we was to put these in finances, right? Hormones get all of the discussion. So hormones would be like your upper class, then cytokines would be like your lower class, people that's doing all the work society's built on, but they don't get no love, right? Snuzzled right in there. Then you get no neurotransmitters will probably be your billionaires. Then hormones would be like your upper middle class, and then cytokines would be like your lower class. Snuggled right in between cytokines, like the lower middle class group of people, would be a group called catecholamines. Catecholamines is responsible, like behind the scenes. Like catecholamines would be like your police officers, your firemen, your sanitation workers. Like they're responsible for most of your longevity work, right? Catecholamines is going to be what's translated later on into pigment. Catecholamines is going to be responsible for metabolizing fats and sugars, right? Catecholamines is going to be responsible for your neurotransmitters. Catecholamines is a very crucial part of your biochemistry. And going back earlier with fructose,
See, fructose is a much nastier customer than people know. So when Tanei is breaking down how fructose is a problem because it bypasses particular checkpoints in your energy cycle, there's other issues with fructose. Fructose stops your body from properly metabolizing aromatic amino acids. So your body basically has aromatic amino acids that it turns into catecholamines. Those catecholamines become, not only do they have jobs of their own, but later on they will also become neurotransmitters or pigments like dopamine, norepinephrine, neuromelanin, even your, serotonin, melatonin, all of these things are based on catecholamines. So now when fructose throws the monkey wrench in your body's ability to metabolize aromatic amino acids into catecholamines or period, not only does that disturb neurotransmission, fat metabolism, but even your body's ability to produce NAD and FAD, which, like, nobody thinks about them, but these are like the couriers, the messengers of your biochemistry. These are the guys that's carrying the electrons from the carbohydrates and the fats, right? So fats and carbs both kind of go through the same breakdown, but fats they have their own cycle they have to go through first. So fats go beta oxidation, then they go energy cycle. Carbs go straight energy cycle, and the electrons from the energy cycle from the carbs, NAD is going to carry those to the cytochromes. From the fats, you have FAD is going to carry the. If you break the aromatic metabolism or slow it down, you literally slow down your biochemistry at every stage. So the problem is that fructose was designed by Mother Nature, to be metabolized with protein and fiber. It was never designed for you to have fructose alone by itself. It was never designed that way. Fructose was designed, when it's in fruit, fructose is snuzzled in between pigments and fibers. So when you eat a fruit, you get fructose, but you're also getting fiber and you're also getting pigment, which pigment accounts for the protein content of fruits and vegetables, just in case people don't know. Pigments are also made out of amino acids. So when they count the protein that's in your fruits and vegetables, your pigment is a part of that because pigments are composed of amino acids. So when you have the fructose with the fiber and the pigment, you're getting both of the things that eliminates glucose and insulin spikes. When you don't have the fiber and you don't have the pigment, which also not only is protein, but doubles as antioxidant, you get the insulin spikes along with the glucose spikes that does other things to your blood besides raise blood sugar.
Well, it seems like we got to add pigment to everything we eat. If they're the middleman,
that's how it's supposed to. No. That's how it's supposed to go. That's how Mother Nature designed the system. That's how the whole system is designed based on photosynthesis. Remember, that's how food is designed, photosynthesis. And photosynthesis doesn't take place without pigment. So there is no such thing as fruits and vegetables that do not have pigment. And so even if we're eating animals, we're supposed to have some fruits and vegetables on that plate.
And even cauliflower has pigment, even though it's white.
Absolutely. And that goes back to the melanin conversation. That's just a plant-based proof that even white folks have been, just to double down it. But
all fruits and vegetables have pigments. Even the white ones, they have pigments. Like it's designed that way. And so when we get to a space where people were doing certain result-based things with their body, right? That's where they start to cut out the nature design for their own personal design. And because most of us are confused to think that big muscles means healthy, we're on the internet taking health advice from bodybuilder, steroid people, and those are not the people of blue zones. I just want y'all to understand that. There were no blue zones that they ever discovered with a bunch of muscle-bound steroid people. Blue muscle-bound steroid people are not known to live to be 100. That's not the muscle-bound. The one
What's a
food
blue
that
zone?
blue zones are, so they did a global study and they wanted to see which people around the planet were living the longest as a marker for health. And so when they find these clusters of places where people are living a long time, they call that a blue zone. And typically longevity is people that live, without the help of drugs past 90 or 100. So if people are making it to 90 or 100 and they're still relatively able to walk around and talk and do their kind of do their own thing, that's considered a blue zone if it seems to be like it's a cultural phenomenon.
Hotep stands a blue zone. Continue. I'm sorry.
And no blue zones included steroid muscle bound people. Period. No, not nowhere on earth were there big muscle bound people looking like Ronnie Coleman or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Chris Bumstead. Like that is not a thing. We have no evidence thus far that shows that people that take muscle building drugs or fat losing drugs live long lives. That's just, we have never seen that before. Now,
So
the
go ahead.
one food, the one food that all blue zones had in common was pulses. Pulses, or what we call beans in the States, is the one food that every single blue zone had in common. Go ahead, bro.
No, so one of the reasons too that is interesting about bodybuilders not living long is that's kind of where you get into the mitochondria conversation. And when you're skeletal, when you have large skeletal muscles or you have an abundance of
That's a fact.
skeletal muscle, you have more mitochondria in those cells, right?
Yeah,
Well,
you change that ratio.
the ratio of the mitochondria in your skeletal muscle to your
That's a
heart.
fact. Yeah, that's
So
a
when
fact.
that happens, now you have an imbalance in your heart. Now your heart has to work harder to pump blood into this high energy area that needs these nutrients to
It's a sweet
maintain the
spot.
muscle. Yeah,
There's
there's
a
definitely
sweet spot. Yeah, there's a sweet spot where building more muscle helps your heart, and then when you pass the sweet spot and you start to continue to grow, it becomes damaging to the heart and the circulatory system. Yeah, that's a fact.
That's a conversation that always gets lost in people like bodybuilding. Nobody ever talks about the density of mitochondria in your skeletal muscle versus the density of mitochondria that's in your heart.
Hold on. Tonight. Come on, you need a hug. Sometimes I'd be after to say, Hotep Jesus need a hug. Listen, that's not a conversation that's getting lost with bodybuilders. Bodybuilders don't know nothing about mitochondria.
Fair. I'm trying to look, man. I'm trying to give people.
Builders don't know. Now you might have Mike Israetel who just happens to may be able to keep up in the conversation because not only is he a bodybuilder, but he's also a medical doctor.
Lane Norton too. Lane Norton.
So yeah. So right. So you got we could count these guys on one hand that just so happen to be doctors and bodybuilders, but
for the most part, these guys don't have no idea about mitochondria density and the difference between, apes and monkeys and people. And because that's just in case y'all listening at home, you don't know, but Tanei just opened up the door to have a primate conversation because primates have a different distribution with their mitochondria. That's why they're so strong. That's why they're so strong, and that's why they have the ability to
Wait, what's their
recruit.
distribution?
Well, they have their mitochondria in their skeletal muscle is way more powerful than ours. Where our power is designed by nature in our heart and our brain. The primates, theirs is in their skeletal muscle. So if you notice, a gorilla is way stronger than a person, but gorilla doesn't have a gym membership. Yeah, gorilla is not doing any pull-ups, no push-ups. Gorilla's walking around, finding food, laying down, having a nap, having sex. He might knock off his wife real quick. Yeah, gorilla's not doing any. I'm gonna make sure I walk 7 miles after dinner. Like gorillas don't have no plans of working out. Whatever workout they get in their normal day, that's what they doing. They all kind of got fat stomachs after a while, but their mitochondria allows them, and then the way their muscles are built, their muscles are designed for maximum power, where our muscles don't allow us to have maximum muscle recruitment because we're designed for dexterity. Our hands are designed where we can learn how to do a fine surgery or build technological, like we can deal with microchips and things. Like a gorilla, you can't teach a gorilla to build a cell phone. Period. The parts are too small. You can't teach a gorilla to do a heart surgery. Like their muscles are not designed for that. So yeah, there's a big difference in, so bodybuilders are not hip to mitochondria density and blah blah blah. If you say mitochondrial biogenesis to a bodybuilder, they may have that glazed over look and ask you if you mean like one more set. Like, oh, is it my set? Like, like they don't. That's not a part of their conversation, even though it should be.
So what's the sweet spot between the heart, mitochondria, and the muscle? How do we know that sweet spot?
Well, if you exercise, right, and it doesn't matter if you lift weights or calisthenics, because there's long-standing beef between the weightlifting and the calisthenics community. It doesn't matter what you do. You can lift weights or do calisthenics or both. But if you do it naturally without the help of drugs, you do not have to worry about that ever. But once you begin to unnaturally boost your testosterone level, so that way your body can carry an unnatural amount of muscle, not only do you begin to put more pressure on your heart, but you begin to put more pressure on your bones, which includes your spine, because your bones have to be able to carry the muscle, and not only carry the muscle, but remember the way muscle is designed, muscle is constantly doing this to your bones. Your muscle tugs on your bones. That's what muscles do. When your muscle contracts, it's pulling on a tendon, which is pulling the bone, right? So your bone has to be strong enough to deal with that's how people pop muscles. Usually the muscle is you putting too much pressure on the muscle and it separates from the bone.
Yeah, it ends up being too big for like the tendon to like
Yeah.
carry the load.
And so they have to surgically reattach the muscle to the tendon and the bone. You know what I'm saying? But that's because tendons, ligaments, and bones heal and grow denser and stronger at a much slower rate than muscles do. So
Yeah, I'm starting to
people,
notice that. Like I'm lifting heavier, and the rest of my body's like, "Hey, yeah, look, your muscles are getting right, but the rest of us ain't ready yet, dog. You
yeah,
gotta."
you got to slow it on down, champ. And then you got to make sure that there's balanced nutrition. So like most of the nutrition surrounding muscle building conversation is upside down in terms of longevity.
So like most of the protein powders and supplements and all that is built around leucine and branched chain amino acids. And that's cool for muscles. But 90% of the protein you have in your body is not built around those amino acids. 90% of the protein in your body is built around collagen, which is a whole nother set of amino acids. So your glutamine and arginine and leucine and all that builds up the muscles, that has little to do with your collagen. Your collagen is going to be, proline and
You agree with that? You agree with
hydroxyproline.
that, Tanai?
Yeah, no, his that's facts. Like, and plus you have to understand too that the collagen helps stabilize the skeletal muscle too. So when your
Facts.
stabilizer muscles are strong, a lot of times by proxy you can just lift more weight because you stabilize it better. Like I've seen, so like my trainer is like really big on stabilizing exercises. Like sometimes he has me doing like banded exercise. Like we don't even put like any kind of load on my muscles. What he
Y'all
does,
on the Bosu ball?
not a Bosu ball, but like like they have like the stretch bands that go on certain
Yeah,
machines.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
we'll do
absolutely.
warm up exercise with that, but it's really to strengthen the stabilizer muscles. When you strengthen your stabilizer muscles, you can actually start to lift a lot more weight than you normally would if you were just focusing on like your regular skeletal muscle. When you focus on the stabilizing muscles, you make a lot of gains, but the thing is, like you said, it grows very slowly. But a lot of times it grows very slowly because we don't have enough of the collagen protein to actually start to rebuild the ligaments and the tendons. And you have to have like the correct mix of micronutrients as well. Like vitamin C is really big with collagen production. Tannins. So tannins are kind of like those pigments
Yeah,
from
that's
like
a whole
teas and
nother
things
group.
like that. Right. And so essentially when you have collagen synthesis, so your body will take, glycine, proline, hydroxyproline and start to incorporate it into that collagen tissue. And the tannins come in and kind of like reinforce it. So the vitamin C helps to synthesize it, and the tannins come in to like reinforce it to like make it strong and tensile. That allows it to be able to flex, that allows it to be able to stabilize. And the more that you have around, the better you can stabilize the load on the skeletal muscle, and it allows you to actually lift more. So the stabilizer muscles are really really important. You can't put them under as much of a load as you could with your other muscles, but when they do get strong, then your body gets a lot stronger by proxy just by stabilizing the weight better.
Yeah. So and it's just different groups of nutrients. So you get the tannins, like most people know tannins from like just plain old tea, right? But then to initiate that collagen synthesis, you need the vitamin C, you need the lysine. Lysine is another amino acid. You need the vitamin C, the lysine, and you need copper. Those three things will initiate collagen synthesis, but they're not necessarily a part of the collagen. The collagen is glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, right? And then obviously calcium plays a role in the whole density of bone, etc. But calcium is not necessarily a part of the braid that makes up your collagen tissue. And so the muscle is BCAAs, and they stress you to, add the leucine and the glutamine and the arginine, because arginine is going to boost the nitric oxide and blood vessel and blah, blah, blah. So you just got to know, like, the bodybuilders is not trying to live to be 100. So it is a different program if you're trying to if you're trying to be healthy and have longevity. That's a different type of exercise routines, and it's a different type of nutrition. If you're trying to get to a pose down, Mr. Olympia, that's a whole nother universe. A lot of those people understand that they're sacrificing years off their life because they're doing a business. It's just like an NFL player, before they changed the rules anyway, NFL players understood that they were probably taking years off their life, but they were going to change their family tree financially. So it was like a sacrifice for the family. They're probably not going to live to be 90 years old, but their family's going to be well off and their kids are being positioned to live to be 80, 90, 100 years old. Whereas a lot of these influencers, they're making the same decision. They know that by getting the surgeries, they know by using the steroids and the weight loss drugs and the combination of all these things to create these hyper perfect looking bodies so that they can sell you products or programs on the internet. They understand what they're doing. They know that they're sacrificing to build their brand and build their business. The problem is John Q. Public that's watching these people has no idea of that. And they believe that what they're watching on the internet, you know, by eating chicken breasts and plain old white rice, that they're going to somehow get big muscles by drinking 17 protein shakes a day. And that couldn't be farthest from the truth because your body converts excess protein into sugar. So in the same space as sugar with protein will reduce insulin and glucose spikes. If you have protein that's unused because you're eating more protein than your body needs to store muscle and to regenerate your tissues, your body will convert those excess proteins into sugar.
And then what happens?
Well, then you know what happens. Sugar turns into fat and blah blah blah. You going down the road that typically you thought you was getting away from. So this is why the high protein diet is not necessarily the right way to go in terms of a beginner that's trying to get themselves together. You need to focus actually on creating the habits first, the exercise habits, the moving around. And then you need to use the diet secondary as a way to replenish what your body is missing and to heal the damage that you're creating in terms of your new lifestyle. Because as you start to use muscles that you haven't used before, you will get sore. You're going to feel pains in low places because you're creating, you know, hypertrophy, wear and tear. And then that's where the protein comes in. The protein is to build those things up. So, for instance, if you have a normal diet every day where you have, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 grams of protein, but you never exercise, you are probably already in a nitrogen positive space. Because even though if you compare your 60 grams of protein to, you know, John Q bodybuilder on the internet who's telling you you need a gram of protein per body, you know, he's taking on, I'm on 175 grams of protein a day. I'm on 300 grams of protein. Yeah, but they spending 300 minutes a day in the gym exercising while they're telling you you can go to the gym for 20 minutes, you know, 3 times a week. And so you believe that you need to have a high protein diet every day, and that's not it. You need to earn that. You have to build your body into the space where you can metabolize all that protein.
Tanei, what is he talking about when he said nitrogen? He said something about nitrogen. What was he talking about when he said that?
So basically him saying that you're nitrogen positive. So amino acids have nitrogen in them, right? So they have these ammonia groups on them. And that's like that's what kind of differentiates aminos from other from your other macros. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so your body actually metabolizes proteins in the urea cycle. And that's why in your urine and how your kidneys filter, that's how your body filters out the nitrogen is through your urine. And so it's called the urea cycle because there's urea in your urine. And so that's regulated through argininosuccinate, citrulline, arginine, like all of these different amino acids, they'll shuttle around in very similar fashion to what happens in the citric acid cycle, but they're essentially cleaving the nitrogens off of the amino acids so that it can be shuttled to other places.
The other day I was pissing red.
You need to go to the doctor for that. You don't need to be talking to us. You need to go see your primary care physician.
Well, hold on. Before we press the button, because he said the other day. So that day that you had red urine, please tell us that you had some red drinks, some red fruits.
Some watermelon or something.
No. Listen. If you have like some cranberries or certain fruits and vegetables, you can, because technically all other reasons you need emergency room now. Like you should end the live stream and go straight to the emergency room. Like there's no time to waste. Like you have to stop now and go to the.
That's the vaccine injury.
Man, he blames everything on that. Please don't help him tonight.
I was drinking some beet juice.
There we go.
Okay,
There we go. See,
Nigga, I almost had a heart attack. I was like, oh shit, my piss red. I was like, hold on, what the fuck? I was like, oh, the beet juice. That's right.
Yeah.
I thought I was dying.
So beets have their own type of pigments called betolins or something like that. Betalins or something like that. Beets have their own type of red pigments. Yeah, beets are they're beautiful. Beets are beautiful.
So am I. I'm good. It's just the beet.
You good. That's why I said, hold up, before we ring the alarm. Maybe he ate some, he had some maybe he had some, some fruits or some veggies that, Yeah. So you straight, man. I'm about to say, if you end the live, don't even call, just take a taxi, just get in the car right now, get there ASAP.
We got somebody in the chat who is going ham. They said element, they're taking element, LMNT, and they said this is great. It's like a real version of Gatorade.
No, stop. That's a paid advertisement. You have to not let them get that off. Right now, what's happening?
It's somebody in the community.
No. Listen. Right now, what's happening is me and Tanei is going crazy. And so you recognized it from your marketing. You got the marketing in you. And so immediately before we got too crazy, you was like, I don't even know what they're saying, but I know right now is the moment that I have to hold up the apex. Like, listen, apex. So that's literally what somebody's trying to do right now and jump off the top rope with their new age version of Gatorade powder. We have to not let
There's somebody
that
in the community. This is one of the homies. He was just raving about it. He said he has
to stop raving about it.
He got to stop raving about it?
Yeah, he has to stop raving about it.
He said it's giving him hydration.
We got to stop that. We got to stop that. We got to, that's not really like a thing. Like, that's respect to him. You know what I'm saying? I respect to the
so
chat.
I'll jump in and I'll say something, and I'll say probably what is happening. So if he's taking this either,
well, here you know what it is? It's an electrolyte powder. So it's magnesium, potassium, sodium. It's an electrolyte powder that you're supposed to add to your water.
If he's taking it before workout or immediately after he works out, the element powders also have dextrose in them. Dextrose is just another word for glucose. Yeah. So you're giving your body a quick source of carbs that it can use during your workout, plus you're pairing it with the micronutrients. So GLUT4 is also regulated by sodium. So one of the things that you do when you're trying to replenish glycogen or you're trying to get your body to use glucose is to pair it with salt. The sodium also works with the insulin on the GLUT4 to tell your body to bring glucose into your cells. So the electrolyte powders essentially are just a fast carb source. But
right, hold on. Wait a minute. Tonight, we cannot do that without giving them the other side of that story, because sodium activity is absolutely coupled to glucose metabolism. There's no way to not
But that is the reason why diabetes is coupled to high blood pressure. We have to make sure that if we're gonna go there, we gotta go all the way. So the problem I have with it, is not that it's not a good thing. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole bunch of different electrolyte powders. I'm a little bitter because they didn't have no hydration powders until after 10 years after I had Mom Atomics going crazy. But my problem is that it creates this idea in people's minds that they can improve on water, which is a non-starter. Water is the most perfect thing in the universe.
Water is magic. Like
water is magic.
Water is magic.
Water is the only thing that could fill you up.
How the hell is water magic?
So from a chemical aspect, if you look at its molecular weight, water is one of the only things that has a low molecular weight that does not instantly vaporize. And what I mean by that is that most low molecular weight compounds will just diffuse into the air readily, right? Now, water will eventually evaporate and turn into water vapor. But
if you add more energy to it.
If you add more energy to it, right?
Yeah.
But water in a bowl, most of the time, if you just sit water in a bowl and you have it at ambient temperature, it just stays there. It's not going to do anything.
Wait. Not only that, when you make water from liquid to solid, the solid floats on the liquid.
So the interesting thing about that is that solid water is actually more dense than liquid water is because of the way that the lattice orients. So you have to look at how water has the oxygen and two hydrogens, right? So in the liquid form, the molecules kind of like ride over the top of each other. That's kind of why they look like waves, right? But when they organize in a crystal lattice, they actually get in tighter. And when they get in tighter, they get more dense. So since it's more dense, the ice actually floats on top of water. You don't see that with other molecules.
None.
You do not see that with other molecules.
None. When they go from liquid to solid, the solid sinks inside the liquid. It doesn't.
That does not happen with water. Water is one of the only molecules that does that. And it's because of how the oxygen and hydrogen molecules orient with each other and they pack in tighter because of the hydrogen bonding that happens between the oxygen and the hydrogens. So water.
Okay, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
No, so water does a lot of. Water acts as an acid. Water acts as a base. Water in essence can carry electrons. Like water does a lot of stuff that is not
everything
supposed to do. It's not. There's a lot of stuff that water is not.
No. Everything. No. Everything. Tanei, just say everything. Water does everything. Listen.
Yeah.
Listen. Water. Listen. Water is the central feature of all food, right? When you look at macros is carbohydrates, is fats, is proteins. Water is the central feature because you start with photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is basically when you take a water molecule and you connect that water molecule to a carbon. So carbohydrates are created in units of carbon attached to a water molecule. That's why it's called carbohydrate. Now, carbohydrates is not indefinite. So in order for seeds to have a long-lasting life, the seed needed some type of food. So plants turn carbohydrates into fats by removing the oxygen. So when you look at a chain of fats is basically a chain of carbohydrates without the oxygen. So when you look at a carbohydrate, I'm going to repeat this for the audience. A carbohydrate is one carbon, and then it has two hydrogens and one oxygen attached to it. And that's how it repeats. Those are the units that repeat. When you look at a fat, most fats have a carbon with two hydrogens attached to it, and those are the units that repeat. Then it may have an oxygen or two, like at the end of the tail, but
So if you're
typically.
looking at triglycerides, then sorry, I mean to cut you off. When you're looking
Oh,
at
go ahead.
triglycerides, you have the fatty acid portion that has the carboxylic acid. So carboxylic acid is a carbon, a double bonded oxygen, a single bonded oxygen, and on that single bonded oxygen, you have a hydrogen, but that does originate from the carbohydrate. And on the
Facts.
end of the fatty acid shell, that's where just your carbon and hydrogens are as your energy source. All right, go ahead.
No, go ahead. And then when you translate and you go to proteins, your proteins have that same structure, but now you have the nitrogen being introduced. So water is the central feature of all food. Now, when you get to processed food, the problem with processed food is almost like like processed carbohydrates are like pseudo fats because processed carbohydrates don't actually have hydration in there. This is why it is so much easier to convert to fat storage. Whereas when you bite into an apple or an orange, any sort of fruit, like immediately the juices, when you bite into a cupcake, they gotta put, like they gotta add whipped cream in there for you to get that same kind of sensation. There's no liquid busting free from the center of a cake or a cookie, or like these processed foods. The processed foods have the water's gone, the pigment's gone, the fiber's gone. So the actual essence of how our food is built that starts with hydrogen. Everything else is to facilitate the
So
transfer of hydrogen.
is that your beef with Element and these powders?
Oh, no. My beef with Element is the whole idea of improving the quality of water is insane. You have people actually walking around like, yo, I don't like the way water tastes, so I have to add a powder to it. I don't like the way water tastes. I'm like, what? You don't really like being alive. If you don't like water, you don't like being alive. Like you're tired of living. Like that sounds like that's a part of when you go to my YouTube channel and you see the title to my classes for melanin and fat loss. At the end, you'll see society is insane because that is a part of the class. I need to get people to understand that society is insane. So you don't feel out of place when you notice like certain anomalies. And we have insanity. It's an insanity to feel like we need to develop drugs so that people can continue to eat unhealthy amounts of unhealthy food while having a body that looks like they're healthy. That is
So,
an insane thing that we want to look healthy without actually
so
being healthy.
what he's saying is the powder is replacing the flushed out electrolytes, not improving the water. The water is just a carrier.
Right, but we only have a problem of flushed out electrolytes when we eat those bodybuilder health program diets. So when we're eating a diet that's animal meat along with starch, and we don't have a healthy supply of fruits and vegetables in there, then we have to have a synthetic source of the vitamins and minerals that we would normally get from the fruits and vegetables. So
And
see,
that's
if
where
we
that's
had
where the element powder comes in.
correct, because if we had the berries and the apples and the grapes and the this and the that, we got all that right in there. Nature already put that together. We don't need an element pack. Think about what the name of it is, elements. Nature has already packaged the elements in the form of fruits and vegetables.
So I will say that is kind of like a new is kind of bro science, but bro science is right about a lot of stuff. Where there's this new trend of people that are drinking salt water before they go into the gym, and they talk about how much better their workouts are, and that's because you need the micronutrients to help facilitate the electron transfer and your electrochemical gradient. I mean, I think you can get. So element will have the same problem that we talk about like processed foods, where you take the sugar and you take the macros and the micros away from their natural matrix, so that gets it into the bloodstream faster. Where I mean, you could probably just like eat a bowl of fruit and drink some salt water and get the same effect. It's not necessarily I won't go so far as to say that it's a bad thing in context of what you're doing. If you are like taking this like right before you get ready to work out, it's probably fine because you're using that.
Well, listen, I'll go even further to play devil's advocate and go on to the brother side. It depends on what your goals are. We probably should have started this video way back hours ago and just made that disclaimer. Your health program is not one size fits all.
It's all contextual.
Everybody has a different goal with what they're doing. So if your goal is like performance, athlete, bodybuilder, that may fit more into your program, right? But if your goal is health and longevity, that's not necessarily what you want to build your program around. You want to build your program around the natural foods and getting those natural things in. Because remember, all of these things are called supplements. They're supposed to supplement the actual food, not replace the actual food. They're supposed to supplement the food. But a lot of these guys now on the internet, they got powder that goes in the water. They got pre-workout. Like, so it's you got to get into that whole universe of bro science for the stuff to make sense. Because, for instance, most pre-workout is loaded with caffeine.
Yeah.
But caffeine is a diuretic. Caffeine makes you urinate out, it makes you pee. So you took the pre-workout, which made you got rid of your electrolytes, and then you went and you bought something else to put the electrolyte back in that you just flushed it out. Like, I got a bunch of babies. I don't have time to waste money and play games. Like, so most people, they won't really understand that these are money traps. This is what I'm trying to tell people. Most of these brands on the internet, these big platforms, Andrew Huberman, all these guys are using steroids, they're getting surgery, especially the women, and they're creating health brands. And these health brands, if you notice, none of them market themselves as health, even though they go into the health algorithm. They market themselves as fitness. Fitness and health is two different things. If we go back in time, health was something that the slave masters reserved for themselves while promoting fitness to the slave, because fitness allows you to do more work, but it doesn't lengthen your lifespan. In some instances, fit will shorten your lifespan. Health is something that's reserved for the money lender. Health is something that's reserved for the owner, the actual boss, because they want to live a long time, accumulate wealth, pass that down to their children. So nowadays we're confused and we think fitness and health the same thing. There's a bleed where fitness bleeds into health and health bleeds into fitness, but they're two separate things. So, if we're doing the muscle building at all costs kind of thing, some of the products are counter, like you're going to be using the pre-workout, which is going to flush the electrolytes, and then you're going to go get another powder to counteract the powder that you just used to flush the electrolytes, where you could probably have two bananas, bananas about 70 cents each, organic. You could probably have two bananas and get a much more, like, it's just a matter of figuring out what these things are doing besides the promoted effect. So there's a promoted effect, but then there are other effects, right? So the caffeine, along with maybe the taurine or the theanine, probably is going to be in a pre-workout to give you a little bit more.
I heard taurine was cat piss.
Well, they can extract taurine from some interesting places. There are very interesting sources for a lot of these supplements.
That's what they told me when I was looking this shit up.
There's a lot of interesting sources for some of these supplements.
I didn't think it was cat piss. I thought it was like, forgot it came from like bull testicles.
Well, listen, hold on. See, this is where we getting ready to go. I knew. Listen, how long we been on this live stream? What is it? 3 hours? Listen, let me
This is
give.
light work. No, I
No,
see
no,
how y'all be
wait.
cutting
Hold
up. I
on.
see how
I
y'all be
gotta give
cutting up. This
Hotep
is light
Jesus. Listen,
work.
listen, I gotta give Hotep Jesus an imaginary award because I knew that if we brung you onto the platform, he would be on his best behavior. And we have made it to 3 hours.
There's a reason for
straight.
that. There's a reason for that. And it
I
has
don't care
nothing to
what
do
the
with
reason
Tanei.
is. Stop it. Don't try to like maintain your bad boy image right now. Just accept your flowers for being a amazing gentleman and a great host for the evening.
No, sir.
Okay, but it is approaching 11 and the gremlin is coming out and it's time to, it's listen. So I get it. You done allowed me and Tanei plenty of time to exercise our geek thing. We done totally geeked out so it's getting time to do a little bit of trolling. I get it. So listen,
You said
we have to
Taurine.
realize,
You said Taurine.
you have to realize that we have a very interesting coincidence. Now, I don't believe in coincidences, but I know there are a lot of people that believe in coincidences. We have a very interesting coincidence that most people don't realize is taking place right now.
What's that?
The most viral supplement dealers on the internet have the exact same name. That is insane. For the most viral supplement dealers on the internet to have the same name.
What's that?
Brian Johnson.
They're all named Brian Johnson?
Both of them. It's two of them.
Really?
Yeah. And see, these guys we don't even associate like that, which is insane. Right?
Oh, that's the Liver King.
Liver King is one.
Okay, and then the other one
The other one is the guy that's
try to live forever.
Right. Now, we know the Liver King for his crazy antics, and we know the other Brian Johnson because he's using the technology, and that's how he promotes his program. I'm aging backwards, and but
what you said tonight about this nigga?
You can argue that his antics are crazy too. Like all this.
No. That's what I'm saying. Listen, not only do they have the same name, but they have the same game. They're both going viral on the internet to sell supplements. They both have their own supplements brand. And they're both using steroids and using the benefit of the steroid to sell the supplement.
Wait, so they on steroids?
Yes, of course they are both on steroids.
Brian Johnson, the alien looking nigga?
Absolutely. He even made a mistake. In one of his interviews and told everybody, but people wasn't quick enough to understand what he said. And I bust out laughing because I realized that he made a mistake. He was telling folks what he was using, and he said he has an exogenous, what was the word he used for steroids?
Exogenous hormone?
Exogenous hormone treatment. And I almost
RT
floor. My man got grub on steroids. Now you do what you want to do with that. I fell out when I said, "Oh my God!" Both of them is on steroids, and they're both using steroids to bolster the effect of whatever their program is. So, like Liver King, right? And this Liver King has people literally eating testicles. So before you even go down the road of taurine coming from cat piss, you have to realize that you're talking to a community of people that have already proven to be beyond insane. Drinking cat piss is nothing compared to people that's eating testicles. It's nothing compared to grown adults that are introducing their sons to eating testicles of animals. To me, that's a form of bestiality.
When you're putting the sexual organs of animals into your mouth, into children's mouths, you ranking right up there with Epstein as far as I'm concerned. But we live in a society that's so insane that people still on the witch hunt for Epstein after he quote unquote been dead for who knows how long already, right? But we got Liver King introducing testicles into his mouth, into his children's mouth. He feed it to his wife. He got 100,000 people on the internet following him. They're buying testicles in capsules, and I'm like, wait a minute. Listen, that's what I'm saying. My man with the water powder. Listen, just understand that it may be more than one way to skin a cat. I guess that's a better analogy in this conversation right there. Right? More than one way to skin a cat, and it depends on what your goal is, what your health goal is in terms of, which direction you're trying to go.
I mean, if you're gonna be dealing with white powders, nigga, just do a line of cocaine and go to the gym. Ain't nothing gonna do you better than that. Put that element down. Be a real man. Get you some cocaine, nigga. You bullshit.
Well, cocaine is highly anabolic, and like everything else that's anabolic, cocaine runs directly through the melanin system.
See that?
Even though I'm not suggesting, I'm not doubling down on the suggestion to do cocaine. I'm just saying that
cocaine is good for your melanin.
No, we're not saying that either. We're definitely not saying that either. But we are saying that the addiction network in the brain, the reward system, your dopaminergic neurons are also your neuromelanin neurons. Those are one and the same.
Yeah. Don't take no white powders. Y'all putting white powders and stuff. The only white powder I take is creatine. You know what I'm saying? Y'all just
creatine is not, even though creatine is technically a powder. Creatine is in a class by itself. I don't even like to mention creatine in the same sentences as all these other things.
So there's a really interesting study that came out when we were talking. So going back to the whole walking thing, right? There's a really interesting study that came out. I want to say it was in like 2021, 2020, where they looked at people that were over the age of 65, and they had just a placebo group, and then they had a group that supplemented creatine, carnitine, and CoQ10, and they had them do it, I think, for 12 weeks, and then they put them on a walking program where they at least walked 7,500 steps a day. The people in the group that supplemented creatine, that supplement all those things, and all they did was walk, they gained more muscle mass in their legs than the group that didn't do that. So just from supplementing those three things, you just grow muscle mass regardless of whatever your caloric input is. Like all three of those things are anabolic for growing new leg muscle tissue.
Period. No. Anabolic throughout the whole body because, well, so here's the thing what all three of those things do, right? It might make more sense if we simplify it that way. So creatine is your first line of energy production in your body. So before you get to carbs, before you get to fats, right? So carbs get broke down, NAD. Fats get broke down, FAD. Before you get to carbs and fats, before you even get to mitochondria, inside the cytoplasm itself, you have the phosphocreatine system. So the phosphocreatine system is in the water. It's a part of the water energy system. So before you even get to the carbs and the fats, it's phosphocreatine. So adding creatine is going to boost your body's ability to recycle ATP. Now, the carnitine is going to help move in the substrates faster, specifically fats. Carnitine is going to help feed the mitochondria faster. So you got the creatine working on the first part of the energy system.
Then you got the carnitine working on the third part of the energy system. And what's the other one? CoQ10. CoQ10 is working on the second part of the energy system. So that is a strategic little stack where every part of your energy system, from phosphocreatine to carbohydrate metabolism to fat metabolism, is all having, a supplement to boost their activity. And then you put the person on a walking exercise, which is interesting instead of any other type of exercise, because the thing about walking specifically focuses in on metabolizing fat as opposed to carbohydrates. Whereas resistance training, hit this and that, or sprinting and blah, 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 you might burn more or you might metabolize more overall calories, but you're going to metabolize more fat specifically from walking, because not only does walking focus on fat because it's a heart-based exercise, walking allows you to metabolize a large amount of calories without stimulating your appetite, which is a crucial part of this whole thing if we're trying to lose fat, build muscle, right? Because a lot of times people will exercise and then they have a much larger appetite to wrestle with at the end of the exercise.
You do like sprints or any kind of like high intensity cardio, man.
Your exercise, yeah, your appetite go through.
Boy, through the roof.
Walking doesn't do that. Walking is magic, because walking is a heart exercise, and the heart specifically prefers fats to carbohydrates anyway, because fats, not only does it has a higher yield of ATP, but it's a cleaner substrate. Whereas sugars or carbohydrates you're gonna have to wrestle with more lactic acid, and most parts of the body, lactic acid is not really a problem, but even in the heart, it's not really a problem. But in a universe like in America, where we have the worst health on earth and heart disease is the number one killer, we want to take it as easy as possible on our heart. So yeah, that's definitely a big issue. So yeah. Walking is a big cheat code. So yeah, we as a part of our culture and inspiration, we not only promote walking after meals, we also promote trying to hit that 10,000 steps every day and maintain that on average. Like, keep that as a staple.
I fucking hate walking.
You got one more shot, and I'm sending them people right to your house. I'm just letting you know. You got one more shot as an influencer to send people down the road of destruction before them people are going to be at your door, like with their headset on, like, come on with us. We taking you to the MIB.
Only time I walk is to go to the store and get a pack of Newports.
Wow. That's crazy.
This is insane rage bait, dog.
Yo, listen to that. I got to deal with like 4 hours of straight insanity of that. What you on? Like, it's, we got 3 hours off with no.
Oh.
That right there, he's going heavy. Like, that's heavy ammunition right there to make up for lost time. He went crazy. Nobody believes he's walking to the store to get he just, and believe it or not, somebody's already editing that clip right now. That's crazy.
I hate walking. Walking's a waste of fucking time for me. I'm in the gym. I get my lift on, and that's where we gonna leave that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, obviously, I gotta be doing something right if I'm at least doing that. Walking is for other people. I don't think I need to be walking.
We're not co-signing that. It's just going to be microphone silent. So I just want you to know, if there's empty airspace afterwards, that's just that's not by mistake. Like, we're not out of sync and they're just like, oh, wait, there's not supposed to be any dead space. No. That's just because we're not
We're not co-signing that, but we're also not fighting you and feeding into the rage baiting. We're just allowing empty airspace to follow that
Am
up.
I really supposed to walk?
Every human is supposed, like, that's how the body's designed. Like we're supposed to be walking.
Pulleys, levers, and loops, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's a part of the beauty of
Top 3 exercises a nigga needs. Number 1, walk. What's the other one?
Ooh,
Because if you say pulleys, what'd you say? Pulleys, pushes, pussy. What'd you
Pulleys,
say?
levers, and loops.
Pulleys, levers, and loops.
Well, I don't want to be attacked by the weightlifting community, but I'm gonna have to definitely include, if we're going top 3, like to save your life, I'm gonna go walking, push-ups, and squats. I'm gonna go walking, push-ups, and squats. I know there's gonna be a meathead somewhere that's gonna be like, well, you got a bench press.
Well, I mean that's what your push-ups are doing. So
The push what are the push-ups doing?
If you need to increase resist, I mean, it's working your chest. I mean, it's a compound movement on your chest. So I mean, and if you need to increase the intensity, then like you can do different elevations, you can do different push-up variations, one-arm push-ups, cobra push-ups. Like there's a lot of different push-up variations. So
yeah, there's some nuanced differences between a push-up and a bench press, but I don't mind if people want to replace the push-up with the bench press.
No, sir.
I'll say I'll
You got to do both.
I'm going to say, but you only gave 3. And if so there's not room for both if we're doing a 3. Like this, if it's
then
only
push-ups,
a 3,
push-ups has to come before bench press.
If there's only a 3, there's only room for one or the other because it's walking. There's a chest movement, right? Which is going to be push-ups for me, but I can understand the gym heads like bench press is better than orgasm or whatever, they go crazy. But then it's got to be squat. The other one has to be a squat.
So I'm gonna deviate from that a little bit on the squat. I'm gonna say a lunge.
Okay, no.
The reason why
I'm not even gonna fight that. I'm gonna go right along with that. I'm gonna go ahead and because that's easily replaced. That same thing. Tomato.
The lunge I think is better, even though I hate them because it's like
I hate lunges. I had to do them on Monday, nigga.
It's like it's the worst form of cardio, dog. Like
I hate lunges.
Cardio. It's
lunges are gangster. So yeah, I won't even argue the lunge.
Lunges mimic your natural body movement anyway. And if you're good at lunging, you're gonna be good at squatting. But but that's not necessarily true in the opposite direction. Some people that are good at squatting are not good at lunging. But lunges are gonna support both. So I think I would go with the lunge over the squat.
Yeah. A lunge is technically a walking squat. Yeah, it's a walking squat, right? But listen, I'm flexible because I've had these crazy conversations where this is more rage baiting, like because when you do a top 3, whoever feels left out, it goes crazy.
So Strong Dad said walk.
Here we go.
Squat, overhead press.
Overhead. Well, Strong Dad is a gym guy. So, yeah, I'm not going with overhead press, but I could respect where he's coming from with the overhead press. But overhead press doesn't put the focus on the heart that a push-up or a bench press would.
Because of the number of reps?
Well, here's the thing. Push-ups do something that trillions of dollars in medical research has yet to do. Anyone who can do more than 40 push-ups in a minute, in 60 seconds, has a potential 96% reduction in cardiovascular disease risk because of the focus that the push-up puts on the heart specifically. So while the overhead press is irreplaceable in terms of muscle development, shoulder development,
It works for the spine, the neck, the cervical. He's speaking from an expert position.
He's saying overhead press over bench, not in replace of push-ups. He's saying overhead press in replace of the bench. So if we're not going to do push-ups and we're going to choose between bench, he's saying instead of bench, go overhead press.
Like I said, overhead press is top 5 when you come to exercise. Period. Like overhead press is military press, overhead press. Like, yeah, but I'm just saying for the longevity effect of the heart, you know what I'm saying? I got to put something in there specifically to send that blood back.
That push-up is hitting the heart real good.
Absolutely. Push-up is amazing for the heart health. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. You trying to limit us to 3 exercises. You see what I'm saying?
Because of what Tanei said. He said push, pulleys, and what?
Don't try to throw off your rage baiting on Tanei. Do not try to.
What you say was you said the body was. No,
do not justify
I have a
late
brain.
Night trolling.
I have a brain. My brain works. Okay. So what you say it was again Tanei?
Pulleys, levers, and loops.
Pulleys, levers, and loops. So if I hear pulleys, levers, and loops, that means there should be exercises involved with those pulleys, levers, and loops. So what's the pulley exercise?
Hold on, sir. That doesn't work that way because you do compound exercises, and compound exercises work multiple joints at the same time.
All right, so is that pulleys, levers, or loops?
They're technically working all of them.
Exactly. It's
so compound exercises are working all 3 of those?
So look, and Strong Dad will agree with us. Compound exercises are the best. They're the best for building muscle. They're the best for metabolizing fat. Compound exercises are the best because compound exercises are what's considered multi-joint. So depending on which kinesiology book you're looking in, they'll call them compound exercises or they'll call them multi-joint exercises.
Yeah, we get all that. Yeah.
Well, that's what they're doing.
But
because
pulleys, levers, and loops.
He's describing joints.
Correct.
Right. So multi-joints, meaning
and
they're
he's
working.
But he's talking about joints and skeletal muscle.
Well, skeletal muscle is joined together at joints.
Correct. So what I'm saying is if we want to have good overall health, pulleys, levers, and loops, what are the exercises? All right. So what I'm saying is, what is the pulley in the system?
So so what I mean when I say pulleys, levers, and loops is how your body works as a system. And they're like the pulleys and the levers are connected to the loops and vice versa. So they're all right.
So just to help you out here, I'm a visual learner. Okay. So like when you say stuff, I don't know what the fuck you talking about, right? So you have to tell me when I say pulley, you'll have to say, hey, this joint and this muscle or this movement, right? Like, so I can see things moving. Like, so when you say pulley or lever, is the knee joint a pulley and a lever?
Yes, it can act as both.
Yeah. Well, typically a pulley is more like describing. It's more like colorful analogy of how a muscle connects to a tendon and pulls on a bone.
Okay. And the lever is the actual joint of the knee movement.
Right. And so you have 3 different types of levers. And so your joints can all be described as a different type of lever.
Right.
Because they allow you to leverage weight and resistance.
And the pulley is the muscle connected to the tendon.
Right. So the difference between tendons and ligaments is tendons is muscle to bone and ligaments is bone to bone.
Okay. Now where's
so
the
it's
loops?
The same type of tissue, it's just the difference between what they connect.
So what is the loop?
Well, the loop is more when you get into like muscle group alignments. So we doing like a whole personal training certifications.
So like I was saying earlier, where, your knee pain may not be because your knees are bad. It may be because you have low ankle mobility or your hips are tight or your back is weak. that's a whole posterior chain feedback loop.
Stop right there. That's what he's looking for. He's looking, so you have different chains.
Okay.
You have different muscle chains. And so you have your posterior, your posterior, like that's, so, and then you do transverse and, so you got muscle chains, and your muscle chains maintain your posture.
Okay. One in the chat if I'm helping y'all understand this stuff. One in the chat if my questions are helping y'all understand this stuff. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, I now I get it. Now I totally get it.
Yeah. But that's why I was saying I would have to translate for Tanei. Remember I told you that a few weeks ago when I said because I already knew he was going to go top shelf. Yeah, so he was, levers, pulleys, and loops is more analogy. You got to kind of, you kind of know what, you got to be in the know.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got.
And then the elephant in the room we didn't really even talk about is the fascia, the connective tissue, because none of this works without it.
You love talking about that girl, fascia.
Yeah. And she's very beautiful.
She's a bad bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. None of this works without her. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely a lot of room for us to continue to build on the conversation. But I do feel like we went a little crazy tonight. We got to geek out. We got to simplify a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? We got to go, 3 hours without trolling from HJ.
Well, that's because Tanei is here, and Tanei...
HJ was referring to us as netchers and not niggers. Like, that was very, very nice.
Tanei brings a great balance to the show, one that we needed to get you sort of, under control and...
Wow.
And on point,
Wow.
What you saying wow for? You be all over the place. Tanei keep you on the straight and narrow.
Me.
Nice and compact tonight. We're definitely on track tonight.
You know what I'm saying?
Me.
Markel said, "Is Tanei here all month?" We got Tanei all August. It's Tanei August.
Beautiful. That means we're going to see how long we get these long stretches of good behavior from HJ.
Hey, like you said, that gremlin come out like a little water might fall on him.
Yeah, man. That's it. It was 10:57 and he started like, I heard the taurine come from catfish. I was like, wait a minute, look what time it is. It's 3 minutes to 11. He get ready to lose.
Oh,
he lucky.
But I think Spaces was so crazy earlier that he got to get out some of his trolling because
Spaces was nasty.
Spaces was crazy earlier. I was in tears going to the post office. I'm trying to ship packages. That's why I fell off the stage because I had to go to the post office and then go to the supermarket. Somewhere I lost service and fell off the stage, but I was in tears cracking up at just like the random mix of like, you got it's teaching going on, and then you got straight, pure, unadulterated, jumping off the top rope trolling going on. Then you got like...
No, sir.
Then you got... No, I'm not saying by you or Goldstein. I'm talking about people coming up onto the stage. Then you got like dance fever, American Bandstand like going on, like people trying to drop their demo tapes. Yo, this is crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was nasty. And son came up there. I don't know.
I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew. Ask me anything you want. Okay, what type of investments you into? I'm really uncomfortable with these line of questions. Like, wait, what just happened right now?
That was crazy.
Introduce yourself as asked you anything we want, and then the very first question, you're uncomfortable with the questions. Well, I think that you're going into a space where you're trying to say like Jewish people are. Well, what are you invested in?
real estate, commercial and residential. I said, what the? You are a landlord. Like, you literally then went into the stereotype yourself. Like, why you should have just lied. I'm like, at that point, like, that's like black folks don't like chicken and watermelon. Wait a minute. Are you trying to say black folks like chicken and watermelon? Well, I don't know, EnQi. Do you like chicken and watermelon? I would have lied at that point. So I never ate chicken and watermelon. Like, him saying that he's heavily invested into landlordism, like, that was, I don't know, that was just crazy for me. That just started the show off with pure madness. Like, and it didn't get any less, like, it just was crazy the whole way through. So I appreciate Spaces for allowing HJ to get some of his gremlinosity out.
Well, the thing is, you have to know how to run the space. And nobody runs a space like me, because most people don't have, I gotta be honest with you, not many people can make content like me. Let's just.
Hotep, you're a genius.
Well, I don't think there's any dispute about that.
So, we gotta,
I don't think there's any dispute about that.
I mean, sometimes we get in this space and people are making content and then we tend to cut them off, and it's just like, no, they're making content. Even though it might be weird or whatever, as long as it's good content, you kind of gotta let it rock. So I'm trying to bring the Twitter Spaces back to a place where more people want to participate, because we've been, quite rude to some of our previous guests, and I think we're missing out on some great content.
Well, I think that, I don't know if that, I don't think y'all will be able to change that. I think y'all are set in y'all ways with that, period. In fact, that's some of the best content that y'all have. That's some of the best moments in the Hotepistan Spaces. It's when y'all are going crazy and then tag team people in to drop the elbow off the top ropes.
But we have to give them enough room to hang themselves first. And
like, I think, wait a minute, Sonny, Sonny, what do you think about that? If y'all try to dignify, y'all try to respectfully ask Sonny, now, what do you think about this political? Like, y'all know what she getting ready. Come on, man. What are we talking about right now? Like, everybody knows what's getting ready to happen.
Yeah, Sonny coming in on 10, man.
Everybody knows what's getting ready to happen, and they always try to come with the dignified, respectable. Sonny, what do you think about this political perspective? Like, you know what she getting ready to do. She getting ready to clothesline him, hit him with the drop. I don't think I've ever heard her do anything else but come in with the clothesline and the leg drop. She comes in to pin, like, get the 3 count. Like, that's what she's coming in to do.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Now, shout out to Sonny Johnson. That is definitely accurate.
It's just a matter of other people not knowing that's getting ready to happen to them. Like why? I just don't understand how they don't already see that coming. Like, you should know, once you get handed off by Goldstein or HJ to Sonny, it's you. You are out of here, buddy. That's like the Sandman coming up on the stage to get you. Like, they've already evaluated your performance, and so they've woken up Mum-Ra from his sleep to get you. Like, you're done. If they go to bring you up on the stage, turn your mic on, and then they go, "No, Sonny, what do you think about what you getting ready to get the nuke dropped on you?"
Well, I just, I need somebody to cross-reference information. She is our local political expert. So, when somebody says something political and I'm not exactly sure what to think about it, I pass it over to our experts. And she happens to be our, in-house political expert.
/ hitman. / hitman. Yeah. Yeah. / hitman.
That's definitely one of HJ's angels, for sure.
Man. Perfect analogy. The bodyguards are the He's running his Haile Selassie program.
You know about my black female bodyguards?
Well, she's the head. Pure venom.
Oh, Lord Jesus, have mercy. Chat, How was the show tonight? Did you guys get the information you came for? W's in the chat if you came to get the information you came for. W's in the chat if you got more than you bargained for, if you had a great show tonight. W's in the chat if you enjoyed Tanei Ricks joining us tonight. Glam said 10 of 10. It's a lot of W's, more W's than WWF in that chat.
That's
a lot
beautiful.
of W's.
That is beautiful.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Oh,
Yeah,
good.
we didn't even get to discuss trauma in terms of weight loss and you know.
That's funny too that you mentioned that through like the fascia, because the fascia is one of the main structures that holds somatic trauma. So
Yeah.
like that's just going like, I mean,
Next week. Next
Yeah,
week.
we
Wait a
wait,
minute.
Wait, what'd you say? The fascia does what now?
Your fascia. So
You heard the term.
I ain't gonna stay on this long because we was just going to the next week.
Nah. What'd you say? Fascia does what? It holds your trauma?
Yeah. So you have what we call somatic trauma, right? And so in Eastern medicine talks a lot about how your organs hold certain energies, right? And there are points in your body that will hold traumatic energy, because you have to think about what traumatic energy is. Traumatic energy is also accompanied by neuronal impulses and hormone production. So trauma is a biochemical event that is stored in your body.
Memory.
It's memory. So if you don't find a way to process that.
But see, look, if we don't say memory, you're going to activate the brown chakra. They like, wait a minute, is EnQi going? Did he just say points in the body would store that? We got to say memory because the brown chakras is getting juicy.
So memory. And so one of the major points in the body, or one of the major systems in the body and the connective tissues, the fascia. Like a fascia holds a lot of somatic trauma. And as you release it in your body, you start to process those hormonal impulses and the things that happen at the original traumatic event. So your body does hold a memory of all of the trauma that you go through.
So wait a second, lifetime. So if a chick cheat on me and break my heart, that's in my fascia partly?
If you don't process it, yes.
If you don't process it.
It depends on you, but it's possible, sure. It depends on you, especially if you're somebody who, your addictions, if you eat your emotions, you know what I'm saying? If you're somebody who particularly eats your emotions, then you're storing, you have the potential to be a person that stores more.
Because my first girlfriend, I was 16 years old, she had cheated on me, and I was kind of concerned. I was cheating too, but that's besides the point. I've not gotten over that. That might be.
Nah, we got to save this for next week, because after 11 o'clock, it's just no way. It's just no way for us to, really handle this.
Gremlins are beating on the glass, man.
And you done opened up the door for the brown chakra folks. This is bad territory right here.
I'm just saying, y'all niggas said I still got somatic trauma stuck in my body. You know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out what kind of trauma. Like, that emotional trauma could still be stored in the body. This is not just in the memories. This is in the body, you're saying.
Well, hold on. Your body stores memory. Period. So it's not just about like traumatic memories. Your body has memory. Your muscle has memory. Like your body has memory. But traumatic events have, consequences. And so a lot of times we don't realize, but our environment dictates chemical responses. So what we feel as feelings or thought patterns have a chemical sequence behind it. And so a lot of times we'll get into certain grooves and have certain patterns that we repeat throughout our life because we haven't addressed certain traumatic events that have happened. And so we're kind of replaying these things because we've created chemical addictions to negative patterns. people, places, and things. And yeah, so it's a whole conversation. So a lot of times people getting their health together, there's a emotional aspect of that you have to deal with, and there's a psychological aspect you have to deal with, because all of those things come together: neurotransmitters, hormones, and the energy patterns that they represent.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So and I've experienced this. That's how, like, man, I think that's how me and EnQi started talking about it in the first place. Doing this, weight loss journey, even though I kind of hate calling it that because it's not really a journey. It's just, you just kind of getting yourself together. Um, I've had to address a lot of traumatic things that have happened in my childhood. And one of the things about trauma that's really interesting is that normally when that event happens, you're stuck in that place from where the original event occurred. And that's where the memory comes in, right? But the things that happen around that event, like EnQi was saying, you tend to play those things out repeatedly throughout your life. And you do that because it gives you a sense of familiarity, right? And we're in some ways we're attracted to patterns that feel familiar, even though they could be bad, because it's comfortable and it's something that you've experienced before. So you're kind of comfortable in that chaos, even though that chaos is not really serving you well, right? And so for me, I had really traumatic experiences growing up as a child. And when when you have these things happen to you, there are good things that can happen, there are bad things that can happen, right? And you can take that trauma and you can use it as like a fire, and it can light your way for you, but you have to think about the opposite side of fire too. Fire might be leading your way, but it's also burning something else on the back end. So when you're burning that other thing, there's something else that's being destroyed by that fire that you're carrying to make yourself better or to transcend above whatever that traumatic event is, right? And so when you get to a point where that traumatic event is no longer fueling that fire, you have to confront it. And when you confront it, that's when you start to go back to that point in time that you may have closed off in your memory, and then those biochemical impulses start to come back. Like there are sometimes, where I'll be, lifting in the gym and I'll get a little emotional and I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? And then I start thinking and I'm just like, oh, that came from this. And so as you start to release, excess weight, you start to also relive old memories. And when you have those old memories, that's you basically integrating whatever that trauma is into your being. And so you can not necessarily get rid of it, but learn how to live with it, because it's almost like having like your own personal demons, right? You never
You're
get
working
rid of the
through it.
demons.
You're
You're
working
working through
through
it.
you're
You
working through
know,
those patterns, and because you're changing your body structure, like, we don't realize how much of an impact our environment plays on our physical development. So as we change our physical development, we change the biochemical patterns, the hormone patterns, which represent our emotional and thought patterns. So the same way earlier when we were going back and forth and we were discussing how you change your hormones, cytokines, neurotransmitter, and laying that all out, that's the chemistry behind your psychology and your emotions. So you even have a bunch of studies, and the second Melanin versus Diabetes book I did had, a bunch of studies in it from comparing, uh, you know, drugs that they prescribe for different aspects of mental health, whether it's serotonin reuptake inhibitors or, to just plain exercise. And they show in more instances than not, exercise is just as powerful as psychotropic drugs are at dealing with mental health issues and emotional issues, because of reorganizing, resequencing neurotransmitters and hormone cascades and uncoupling negative ones and rebuilding, strong ones, positive ones.
It's just like we were saying earlier, where the hypocaloric foods decouple your hormone regulation from your weight regulation. It's the same thing. When you go back and you recouple those things together, then you start to rebuild those healthy patterns and your body starts functioning the way it's supposed to again.
Not only that, going back to the melanin system, the top of the conversation, just at the simplest place to understand it, most of our anxiety, depression, and traumatic experiences, we go get high for, we go get drunk for. We forget that alcohol is sugar. So the same way, some people will have a breakup with, just to use that example HJ threw out there, even though he was half trolling. Some people have a bad breakup and they going to get drunk. Somebody else will have a bad breakup and they're going to run through a bag of Oreos or a box of donuts. Now, on the surface level, John Q. Public may look at alcohol as one thing and donuts as something else. But somebody that knows better, they know alcohol and donuts are the same thing in a different form. Those is both sugar. That's number one. Number two, they're both working on the very same part of the brain, which is the dopamine, the dopaminergic centers in the brain that governs your addiction, because you want that cascade of dopamine to work on your pain receptors. So the same way the alcohol does it, the cocaine does it, the weed does it, the heroin does it, all of these things work on the same part of the brain center. So that's why it's interesting when you find out the anabolic system is also the energy metabolism system, is also the addiction system, is also, like all of these different things fall up under the melanin system. So it's interesting how they play a role. So when we talk about reshaping the body, it's the same system that we rely on for the addiction. So when we begin to start using those energy patterns and changing those energy patterns, we're also changing the addiction patterns, which also changes how we activate our pain receptors. And so exercise, again, is a powerful source of cannabinoids and endorphins, which is your body's own homemade weed and homemade lean or heroin, right? We have our own cannabinoids and our own opioids that our body releases through exercise. So the same way somebody can go get the street version of those things to cope, your body has a way to produce those same things through exercise.
So the body's producing its own cannabinoids?
Cannabinoids, absolutely. But you have to have the right ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s. So there's still a part of this where you got to eat right. You know what I'm saying? So, if you don't have any, if you're not getting the right amount of omega-3s to omega-6s, instead of your body producing cannabinoids, which eliminates or quiets inflammation, your body will just be overproducing prostaglandins,
Yeah.
which will boost up the inflammation instead of quieting the inflammation. So, yeah, it's still an eating component. But the thing about exercising is typically people that are exercising are trying to eat better. So you're also combating the negative emotions and patterns of chemistry associated with those negative emotions by changing the food. So instead of just having the sugar, which is hitting the addictive, which is hitting those addictive centers in the brain, you're incorporating some other things in that's going to give you some more balance. So yeah, it's a larger conversation we got to get into because, you know, the negative emotions are associated with the negative eating, are associated with the less exercise, which is associated with less motivation, which is associated with higher levels of cortisol, which tells your body to break down testosterone and build up fat, which is also associated with lower levels of vitamin D, which tells your body to constantly break down the bone so you don't have denser bone. So it's a whole, it's not like emotions are separated from biochemistry, which is separated from body development, which is separated from what we're going through in life. All of these things are interwoven together, even to the point of ugly and beauty. Those things have an impact on your biochemistry. We got a lot of conversations to have over the next few weeks.
Yeah, beauty is important. Beauty is absolutely important. Yeah.
Well, it depends on what your standard is. The new standard is a superficial standard. The KeMedicine standard, which is why I loved when Homeboy came into the spaces and he was like, yeah, because the idea of the devil, I have a KeMedicine centered belief center. I was in the supermarket like, yeah, and then I look around like, sorry about that. As you were, what I'm saying? As you were. But yeah, I was spaces were good today.
Well done, gentlemen. Another KeMedicine is in the books. Next week we're coming back. We're gonna talk about your ex-hoes and fascia.
Ex-hoes and fascia. only in Hotepistan where ex-hoes and fascia could share a title to video.
Fascia sounds like an
worse.
Yeah. Oddly enough.
Fascia sound like a bitch that cheated on you. You remember that whole fascia? Yeah, the light-skinned one down the street? Yeah, that bitch.
The two-faced one. The two-faced one.
Yeah.
Fascia two-faced.
You know what I'm saying? So we coming back. We gonna talk about fascia funky ass next week. Shout out Willie Well. We gonna come back next week. We gonna talk about her funky ass fascia. But we got a lot covered today. Tanei, we stayed on track today?
Yeah, this is a good episode. We stayed mostly on track today.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. HJ got them moon rocks for sale. Come on, HJ.
I got the moon rocks for sale. Okay, you take one of these out. Okay, it's $180 just tonight because Tanei's here. It's $180 tonight. You gonna rest it on your forehead like this here, lay down, and your ancestors will communicate with you. If you got a dead grandma, you could play dice with her, all types of shit. You know what I'm saying? So if you ever miss your grandma, I got the moon rocks. Okay.
Hey, listen. Melanin is Anabolic is the #1 new release book in molecular biology on Amazon.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's kind of dope. Right?
What's it called?
Melanin is Anabolic.
Melanin is Anabolic. Yeah. Available now on Amazon. Make sure y'all go get that. That's the new drop. EnQi drop like 8 books a week. That's the new drop right there.
No,
okay.
But that's the 15-week class. So we're gonna stick with that. We're doing.
Oh, that's a 15-week class.
15-week class on the
it.
lie of burning fat. All these scams, these platforms running on people with weight gain and fat loss, and breaking down a full understanding of how your body builds itself, and just the whole idea. The body in and of itself is magical. Not only is the body magical because it's made out of water, and water's magical, but just the concept of having a blueprint that builds itself is insane. Yeah, it's pure magic. And that's what your body is. It's a blueprint that literally builds itself. All we got to do is get out the way.
That's it, man. Get out the way. Let Apex do the work. Let Flow do the work. Okay. Metavorted.com. Coupon code HJX. All right. Metavoida.com. Make sure y'all take y'all supplements. Remember what he said. There's top 3 supplement providers on this earth. All got the name Brian. 2 of them are frauds. That's Brian Johnson. But then you got Brian Sharp. That's me.
That was a nice little.
That was smooth. That was smooth.
Nice right there.
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
Top 3 supplement makers right now got the name Brian. I'm one of them, okay? We are out of here. I'll see y'all next week, gentlemen. Thank you for your time tonight.
Hotep and Bill.
Hotep and Bill. Chat, tomorrow we locking in. Tomorrow's what? Tomorrow's Wednesday, ain't it? Damn, it's Wednesday already. This is crazy. So I'm gonna leave y'all off with EnQi prayer before we get out of here. Tanei, thank you for joining the live, man. I'll see you tomorrow, man.
All right, appreciate y'all having me.
Yes, sir.
See y'all tomorrow, chat.
Peace.
Rolling through the sand like a thought in disguise. The scarab spins truth where the cosmos collide.